G.I. Joe, the Real American Headcast, is the code name for Aaron's daring, highly trained headcast. Its purpose? To podcast about G.I. Joe, Fighting Cobra, a ruthless terrorist organization determined to rule the world. Hey, Joes. Welcome to G.I. Joe, Real American Headcast, episode 66, if my math is correct. Before I get started, I want to say that this episode is sponsored by Big Danny Cool and Sean Adams, two of our great supporters over on Patreon. Also, again, I'm trying to get better at this, but I'm really bad. If you like what I'm doing here, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. Heck, even if you don't like and you want to hate watch, hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'm not picky at this point in my life. But no, definitely. Thank you guys for joining us. It looks like so far we have Yo Joe Jackson in the chat with us. So I just want to say thanks for joining us, Joe. Glad you could be here. And let's go and start bringing in the crew, I guess. Just looking at my notes. Yeah, well, I guess it's time to introduce the Joes. So I will go along as are here on my bottom. First up, the newest addition over to the G.I. Joe, the Energon Protocols, and he's been on here before and a frequent contributor. We have David Martell. Hey, Dave. Glad you
Aaron.
See real quick. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fine, but I'm thinking that if I get with you more often, I will need my own theme when I am coming in.
I was just saying I need to do a theme song for you also. So,
and I already know what would be the best song for me. It would be the theme for Hockey Night in Canada.
There you go. I will have to look that up and put together an intro for you. Speaking of intros and people that I don't know if I should introduce or not, but we're going to bring them on anyways. Next up, we have
that's a prescription for danger,
aka Death Probe, Jared Albrick.
It makes me laugh every time. Hey, I'm happy to be here, and as you can see, I'll be drawing on this episode. So
great, love that.
Fired up. I'm gonna keep joining you on these episodes until David gives up that fake accent of his. We all know he's from Texas. But, all right.
And also joining us, we have Kevin Reitzel, aka the Raider Nerd himself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at my new Cold Slither album here. Sorry.
What's
going on? How you doing?
We'll be talking about that a little bit later on. I was going to do at the top of the show, but I figured I'm going to wait because today's show is going to be a little bit different format than I usually do. After our last guest from the cartoon, I figured, you know what? We got this poor guest sitting around. He has nothing to do with the comic book. And I make him sit and wait through the entire, us morons talking about a comic book that he had nothing to do with. So I'm switching things up. This time, we're going to talk about the cartoon first. And the reason for that is we have a very, very special guest joining us. Let me find it real quick. Joining us all the way from his hidden lair we have, let me find them. Oh, it's up at the top. Flint Dille. And I'm sorry, I forgot. I was trying to find that earlier. Is it Dill or is it Delay? Or
No, it's Dille. It's Dille,
Dille.
but it's most people pronounce it Dill just simply because I don't know what, but they do. They don't know if it's an accented syllable or not.
Welcome to the show, Flint. Appreciate
Yeah,
you.
good to be here.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the theme songs you guys have. Okay, we got a
Thank you.
hardcore Raiders fan here. Are you in Oakland right now, or?
No, I'm in Southern California, Santa Barbara, but I've been a fan since 1980. So yeah.
Right. Well, that's when they moved to Southern California before moving back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, because I started liking them when in college. They're still in Oakland. Then when I came down to LA, they moved down to LA, so I appreciated that. I mean, I'm sure
Nice.
that's why they moved.
Yeah.
And I mean, what great teams. I mean, yeah, it went from Kenny Stabler to
The GOAT,
Jim
Kenny
Plunkett, to
Stabler,
Mark
yes.
Wilson, to Howie Long, to Marcus Allen, to Hayes and Haynes. Yeah, great team.
Aaron, I like this guest. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
I think got the best guests.
Minus 5 points. No mention of Bo Jackson.
But yeah, Bo Jackson. Yeah, you get that. Well, I mean, I also didn't go into Blitnikoff, and I didn't go into either of the people that my first date with my wife. These two women came up to us at a bar, and they were absolutely convinced that I was either Lyle Alzado or John Matuzak. Okay, one of them at that moment was dead, and the other one was dying in a hospital about 300 yards away. But nevertheless, it's at Cedar Sinai. But anyway, I was flattered. I would have rather had Howie Long, to be honest with you, but I'll take.
And
Also a GOAT.
Heinz is also in the chat.
What's that?
I was saying Heinz Koch, one of our frequent listeners, is in the chat also. I said he can't hear you. Can you hear us now, Heinz? So let's get started today's show. Again, thank you very much for joining us, Flint. I'm glad to get finally. I've been trying for a while to get you on here, but our schedule hasn't matched up. And
well, we're here now, and I think I probably have a little more time than I thought I did.
Good.
If I suddenly have to get off, it's because my wife and daughter just got back and
okay,
got to change into a different mode. But anyway, yeah. So let's go. Yeah,
So
sorry I didn't get I don't know anything about hockey, so I couldn't talk about hockey here. And my comic book opinion's not even worth listening to. So yeah.
So real quick before we get started, I do want to say this past month, or actually I guess it was the end of June, I guess we lost Jim Shooter.
Yes, we did.
Passed away. So I want to give an RIP to Jim Shooter, from what I understand, a great editor. And again, as we've talked about Jim before on the show and how he kept the trains running and making sure people may not liked him because he had a job to do and he seemed to take it seriously. So
The first time I ever heard or seen his name was that little hidden Easter egg in the first issue of G.I. Joe. He was one of those random Joe guys. I'm like, who's Jim Shooter? I didn't know who Jim Shooter was in real life. I'm like,
he was so huge, in precisely the 80s period we were doing G1. He was Marvel Comics, and I mean, I heard about him a trillion times from Steve Gerber, who was a Joe Story editor. He'd worked with him a lot. Frank Miller, basically crashed on his couch. Matter of fact, we had dinner with Frank the night before last, and he was talking about Shooter. He was saying that guy was a child prodigy. I mean, he was, he was Frank's editor and discovered him. And nobody else thought Frank had any talent, but Shooter said, "I'm going to hire this guy because he's dangerous, and we better get him. Let's get him now." That's the story Frank was telling me. I had dinner with him one night. Oddly enough, it was very much about the Oakland Raiders because he was a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Such good rivalries between.
Oh yeah, that was that whole '70s era. I mean, you have the Immaculate Reception, the Ghost in the Post. I mean, all that stuff.
For the Steelers, the Raiders would have won like 5 Super Bowls.
Yeah, exactly. But they, anyway, enough with the Raiders and the Steelers. But yeah, that was one of the best rivals. I mean, you have Terry Bradshaw and the Snake on the same field. It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah.
So, normally this is the point I go into the cartoon and talk about the cartoon. But before we do that, a little about our very special guest, Flint Dille. He wrote 5 according to this call came from Wikipedia. So if I'm wrong, Flint, please correct me. He wrote 5 episodes in season 1 of G.I. Joe. and 3 in the second season, which we haven't gotten to yet. The episodes he did this season was The Game Master, Eau de Cobra, The Pit of Vipers. He was a story by. The Wrong Stuff, it was also credited a story by. And the one we're talking about today, Skeletons in the Closet.
Yeah, well, I got there. Yeah, I mean, it was very rare that I would actually write an episode. That I only wrote episodes when something fell out. I came in because Steve Gerber was a story editor, and I just gotten done doing a thing called Droids at Lucasfilm. It was a real disaster. But Steve said, "Oh, come work on my show. I've fallen behind," which was standard out for Steve. And I just need you to come in and ghost story it. I wouldn't really ghost because everybody knew I was doing it. But and he said his big pitch was, and you can hit people with real fists, because we'd been working together at Ruby Spears doing network stuff. And we discovered the joys of syndication, where you just had none of the shackles that you had with network. So I mean, it was great. So I came in and edited. I was editing, and then about 3 months in, Joe Bacall and Tom Griffin came into town. Griffin Bacall, Sunbow, came into town and said, "Hey, we want to hire you as a producer." So I came on it was a story editor and a producer. So I edited, probably half of, everything that came. Steve and I were, just, for the rest of the first season. Then I got moved over to Transformers, but yeah, I love G.I. Joe. I've never had an easier writing job in my life. It was easy.
Some other stuff by Flint. I'm horrible at this. Let's go ahead and bring that way. So he wrote a great book called The Game Master, which I bought when it came with, and that's when I was going to talk to you originally. Talking about your book, The Game Master, kind of your life. And
well, it was really that 4-year period. I mean, it starts. It goes from like 83 all through Joe and Transformers, and ends with Amblin. But and it's kind of everything. What I did, and probably some of them were your questions, David, and those were that was, I had all these like text interviews I'd done, and I said, I'll just turn this into a book. Because then I will have said it one time, and nobody will ever ask again. Real life doesn't work that way, but it was a good idea. And this publisher was kind of excited about it, so I decided, I'll write the book.
I loved it. So I recommend anyone that hasn't read it yet, go out and look. I think it's on Amazon. The Game Master, great book. I can't recommend it enough. I loved reading it. I love hearing these stories from creators and how they're when they're working on this stuff. So fantastic. He's also done some other work we may have heard of, people on the show. He worked on a little cartoon called Transformers, as he mentioned earlier. He was, as he just said, the story editor for the first season of G.I. Joe. According to Wikipedia, he was the story editor in the second season of Transformers. Also, according to Wikipedia, he rewrote a lot of the Transformers the movie. He was a co-writer and executive producer on Venom, the first Venom movie. And then some things I love also, besides what we've been talking about, he created and wrote on the Inhumanoids and Visionaries, a couple of great 90s properties that's due for a comeback.
Well, it was exactly the team that did Joe and Transformers. I mean, just look at it. Was I mean, Inhumanoids it was kind of a regular thing. Visionaries, it happened at the very end of the whole Sunbow thing.
Right.
We actually stretched into my next 2 jobs, but probably was the best animation we did. And you could, there was a lot about it. It was kind of the best total package show that we did. We had the best voice actors, and TMS did the animation, and it was great.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't last longer. I thought Visionaries was fantastic.
Well, you realize that the toy line was canceled before the show ran, except in England. There's this weird cult of fans of Visionaries in England because they got the whole presentation, whereas here it was just kind of filling in holes in Super Sunday, and the era was ending.
Plus, besides what I mentioned, he's worked on a lot of other things. It's just those are the things that I know are of importance or of note to G.I. Joe fans. Also, a few other notes about Flint. If I'm not mistaken, his grandfather was the publisher of the original Buck Rogers comic strip.
Yeah, he was the originator. Yeah,
I remember reading that in your book.
So cool.
And he was also friends with Gary Gygax. Am I pronouncing
that? Gary taught me how to design and to make games and all that, which is what I did most after. I a few years where I was, mostly a screenwriter, but once you get video games, you tell stories in them because I was already a designer, and that's I just it was a perfect combo.
Yeah, he's worked on many games like the Transformers.
He's a gaming legend. That is so cool.
Yes. As I say,
I'm kind of known more now for games than movies or shows, except for the G1 stuff. That was really and no part of me thought at 29 years old or whatever I was when I was doing that I'd be sitting here 40 years later talking about this stuff. That did not occur. Because everything was so ephemeral then.
Oh yeah, well, we're glad you did, because you did a great job, and I know we all enjoyed the cartoon and both that Transformers. Like I said, everything I mentioned, I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in saying that in Humanoids, Visionaries, your work on GI Joe, Transformers, fantastic. So from all of us,
well, I'm doing a project right now, which is sort of an homage to all of them, probably more in Humanoids than anything else, called Subterraneans. And it's an RPG and a tabletop game. I don't need but anybody likes that stuff, I'll like this. That was the only show I kind of had unfinished business with. So
yeah, very nice. But so let's go ahead and get into the cartoon real quick, and then we'll go back to some more discussion real quick. So real quick, we're going to do. Second. There it is.
Yo, Joe! He'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe, American hero. G.I. Joe is there. It's G.I. Joe against Cobra the enemy, fighting to save the day. He never gives up, he's always there, fighting for freedom over land and air. G.I. Joe, G.I. Joe is there.
G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained Special Mission Force. Its purpose, to defend human freedom against Cobra, a ruthless terrorist organization determined to rule the world.
He never gives up, he'll stay till the fight's won. G.I. Joe will dare. G.I. Joe, American hero. G.I. Joe.
So this episode was entitled Skeletons in the Closet, as I mentioned earlier. Directed by John Gibbs and Terry Lennon. Writer, Flint Dille. First aired December the 11th, 1985. And the synopsis from IMDb. Lady J receives a strange message from England informing her that she is the heir to an ancient manor. When she arrives, she is thrust into a sinister mystery involving a strange hidden cult, secret passages, and the truth behind Destro's silver mask. So let's get some thoughts. And again, since we got so much to cover, try to limit to a couple questions or thoughts each real quick, and then we'll do the rounds, and we'll go a couple times around if you guys don't mind. So Dave, since you're the first on my list, on my peering here, do you have any questions or thoughts on this? Let's start with this episode.
I must say that this episode has one of my favorite lines in the whole series, and that's the poetic one when Destro says, "We shall all wear masks until law is sacrificed upon the altar of history." I always loved that one.
Yeah, a lot of great lines,
and that was
Skeletons in the Closet. Obviously, I was like going full Lovecraft because I was working on D&D projects at that point, and I was probably starting in Humanoids at that moment. So you think about the Cthulhu's coming out of the basement in Lady J's manor. It's also the origin story for Marissa Fairborn, who's one of these stealth crossover characters.
Mm-hmm.
Because Flint's real name was Dashiell Fairborn.
Right.
And of course, when I was writing episodes, which was very rare. It only happened when somebody either was so late on an episode that we had to get. I mean, everything I wrote was done probably within 48 hours.
Wow.
So from like, hey, I got this idea that Lady J's got a castle somewhere, and there's a lot of secret stuff and secret societies and all that underneath it. And Skeletons in the Closet, if you wanted to take episodes, kind of everything I like all rolled into one, that was probably it. I mean, I had like, spooky stuff, and we wanted to do different. Jay Bacall at one point said to me, I think it was before the Games Master, but he said, let's just do something a little bit different. We don't just blow up the headquarters at the end. Let's just do something different. So you have Skeletons in the Closet, which is basically a dungeon crawl, with a lot of other stuff, and Games Master, which was his own thing, and Ode to Cobra is about an aphrodisiac, which was not material which we covered usually on the show. It was pretty PG rated or G rated, but that's what it was about.
Jared. Okay, yes, very nice. Questions, thoughts on this episode for Flint?
I really wish I'd watched the episode now, Aaron.
Okay, Kevin.
No,
that's an inside joke.
No. I'm just so glad that Flint decided to share time on your show with us. Flint, you only were able to do, like you said, a handful of episodes of this. So it's not necessarily specific to this cartoon. It's a bit more of a broad question. But I'm certain you've probably been asked about 100 times, but let's make it 101.
Sure.
Was there ever a Joe character that you really wanted to do something with and just never quite got the time? So I really would like to get back to that character, do a story around that person. I mean, clearly you got your Lady J and Destro story, and by the way, I love how you intertwine their history.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I spent most of my time trying to promote Flint to Field Marshal, but but I mean, there were characters that, like, Buzz was Shipwreck. I mean, he really was Shipwreck, and so he got to write most of the Shipwreck stuff. I mean, people who sort of had control over certain characters. I liked writing and it was pretty easy to find stuff. Any of Chris Latta's stuff, because he was just such a different vibe in the show. He's Cobra Commander, obviously, right. That, but he played a lot of other things. Because a lot of the actors had multiple roles because it's a way voice recording. But I don't know, like a character. I mean, I liked exploring this whole weird triangle with Destro and Cobra Commander and the Baroness. I mean, Ace was always kind of fun because my theory on Ace was that, because we always had to have the pilots bail out when they're shot down, and that Ace, he loved being a pilot, but he liked being shot down, then he could get on the ground and fight. He just had to do the bailout first. You can have fun with a guy like that. He later sort of appeared in Humanoids as this pilot whose plane crashed and that turned into his underground survival suit. But that was a kind of a subtle thing because we were not really allowed to cross over the shows. But yeah, it was, it's, kind of like Strange Ones, but the whole fun thing was, we'd get a list of where they tell us what characters they wanted us to use and feature in an episode because they wanted to see the toys and the characters because Hasbro's paying for this, and but they never had said don't use the following characters. So I tried to find somebody I didn't know who they were and put them in there, and just used a lot of it. Yeah, female characters were always interesting to me just because they made it just added a dimension to it. Cover Girl, people like that.
Kevin, questions?
Flint, first of all, I like that you alluded to how instead of like destroying, like we see like the Cobra fortress gets destroyed at the end of like a lot of episodes, and I've always mentioned that I love the architecture of all of these Cobra fortresses. But what I liked is you turned the tail on this one was that you showed them fleeing another horrible Cobra commanded event. and that the blonde girl who's a Cobra, she says, "Oh no, but it's destroyed. We can't go back." After she's flirting with the Baroness. So I like that you did that. That was a cool thing that we hadn't seen. But what I wanted to ask you is one thing while I was watching this episode, and a lot of these I haven't seen in years, so we're like watching them for the first time, that we're getting a history of Destro, which is one of the more interesting and unique backgrounds of a character. And I actually started thinking about the G.I. Joe movie that came out when they were showcasing what happened in the background of Destro, and there's some similarities there. And I was curious how you guys kind of either got the information or able to tell the story of Destro, because I'm trying to remember of the previous episodes. I don't know if we got such a detailed background on his background, but it felt like the people that were doing the movie were paying attention here.
Oh yeah, because we're all sitting in the same office talking about this all the time, and it was kind of a formality. What I mean, I moved around from show to show because they liked using me to develop stuff and write pilots and all that. And after the first year, they put people in for post-production people because they decided I was probably incompetent in doing most post-production stuff, and secondly, that just wasn't the best use for me. And so that's when like Mike Hill came in. By the way, Cold Slither's having a big comeback now too. Interestingly.
Oh yes.
And I think they had to do more with it. And Mike should have been the guest of honor at Comic-Con this year.
Well, I just want to interject. He was there as a guest, and he was treated like royalty with the fans that came up and realized who he was. And I thanked him. I thanked him in person for being there, and I'm also thanked him for being on the show with you, Aaron.
Yeah, we had him on the show episode before last. So great. Yeah, great guy.
Because he came in, he was kind of mostly post-production, but I mean, he was of all the people, the person I knew the longest that worked on the shows, because I knew him, from Hollywood Guerrilla days before any of us were employed. And he came on, and it was cool. So kind of everybody could do everything. He could write scripts. He was much better with post-production stuff than I was. And but yeah, I can't remember the question you were asking. Sorry,
about the history of Destro and how you guys kind of decided to follow that, and what kind of information was either given to you guys or where that was kind of created.
Well, yeah, I mean the meta answer to that, and then we'll get into it, is how all this stuff came together. Is Steve, obviously was a comic book guy, Steve Gerber. And he had, created Howard the Duck, which came out, the summer we were working on this stuff, one of the summers. And, and so he knew everybody in comics. So what he would do is, at the time, a lot of them wanted to come out to animation because this paid incredibly well, the Sunbow stuff. And so you could give somebody a 3-script deal, and that would pay for their move to Los Angeles. And they could come in and do it. Marv Wolfman came out, Len Wein came out, Roger Schleifer came out and then went back because he ended up being a producer in New York for Transformers later on. So a bunch of them were comic book guys. And comic book guys think about different things than, as we see in the upper right-hand corner here, think about different things than writers do. They tend to think of continuity. They tend to think of backstories. They tend to think of interrelationships, which was something that, not writers, I mean animation writers. Animation traditionally didn't do that. Animation was based on the idea that every episode started, you watch Gunsmoke, it starts, with, Matt Dillon's in the sheriff's office, and bad guy comes into town, kills bad guy back in the sheriff's office, and the story never advances. And you never look any deeper into anything. Like you never went upstairs in the Long Branch Saloon, stuff like that. And, figure out what Miss Kitty was really running up there. But, and whereas the comic book guys were really concerned about that. And I was the only person that was really kind of a game guy, but we had similar things. I just wanted things to make sense and have a kind of logic and cohesion behind them. And so we explored, because we'd get these ridiculous numbers of episodes. We'd have like 65 episode orders. So we knew we can go do anything we want, but all of a sudden that you could, I mean, the formats, and for me more later with Inhumanoids and Visionaries, but the formats became much more like modern streaming shows where that you would continue stories over an arc of episodes, and you'd get backstory and things would be deeper, and you'd have relationships, what you call now B stories or C stories, where relationships develop, and what's a B story in one episode is the A story in the next episode. We got much more of that format, because when we started, it was very much a reset kind of thing, except for the miniseries, because you couldn't trust some guy at the local affiliate in Kansas City to put the right disc in, the right, VHS actually in those days, or, some kind of tape format in on the same day. But that all changed. And so we could actually, do things in an order and have stories advance and sub stories advance. So we were just fascinated by that and kept doing it. And you wanted to know the backstory. You want to know, kind of, how, I was just, kind of interested in, okay, how would this really work? If I were making a game out of it, which I'd love to do as a miniatures game with the Joe characters, but anyway, yeah. So that, it was all sorts of influences coming together that only could have happened at that point in the 80s.
Very nice. And to follow up a couple of things, like David said, a lot of great writing in this, a lot of great one-liners or, various things. I just love that. And like Kevin said, I love when we get the backstories of some of these characters, because, like you said, most of these are one and dones. We don't really get much in depth on these. They're just, for little kids to watch and enjoy. And so I think episodes like this are fantastic. These are my favorite.
Well, the big thing that happened too is we realized the show wasn't really, none of our shows were really for little kids. Because the other thing that was going on in the mid 80s, I was talking to Tom Griffin one day, it was my boss, he and Joe, and Jay sort of, but Jay was different. But I was talking to Tom one day, and he was talking about the recession. And what we realized is Dad's sitting there watching the show too. He's not working, he's on the couch. And so you wanted to make it adult stuff. Plus the fact we were doing stuff that we wanted to see.
Right.
And obviously we knew that, we were doing something that's considered a children's medium. So, there were boundaries around us, but there were never, they were never really constrictions. We had a lot of fun with it. And that was new. Before that in animation, like when I was writing in network animation, it was about kids, and there were agendas behind it, and it was pro-social and all that. And, we were fairly antisocial. But what was funny was that, all of a sudden you got to kind of know these characters and flesh them out a little bit and create relationships between them. There are characters that don't like each other, characters that like each other, that aren't supposed to like each other. You can have a lot of fun with that. And so between having this other audience and knowing that, no matter what, the kids are going to follow the action, right? And so the dialogue and the subtext of it can be, adult with a small a, but, can be something that Dad's sitting there watching. He's not embarrassed by it. And that's why you go to cons, and what you see, like 3 generations of fans there. There's the guy who was dad, when the thing came out. He's grandpa now. There's, the kid who's now dad, and then, they're bringing their kid along. Their kid may or may not want to be there, except they think it's cool to go to the convention with dad and grandpa, so they're there.
Very nice. And a couple of thoughts real quick. So, and it's one thing I always complain about, the beasts in the pits, Cthulhu Spider and all that. I love that personally. My complaint is that people say Cobra Law was too far. We have things like Cthulhu in the pit.
Okay, to be honest with you,
fans to complain about it.
I can take neither credit nor blame for anything in the movie. The movie, at that point, I was off doing the still doing season 3 of Transformers, Inhumanoids, Visionaries, another show called Muscle Machines, which everybody forgot about. But and so I was like, because I remember looking at the Joe script, because we'd read through this stuff, and I'm going, I don't even know who Serpentor is, or I knew, we later on we got Old Snake into Transformers. But you know, I mean, I didn't even know who these characters. You know, and all of a sudden you have, you know, Blowtorch and Ashtray, and you know, I don't know who these guys are. You know, and Corn Dog, and you know, and yeah, because you just can only just track so many. I mean, Transformers is not like we had some shortage of characters, and so you know, I just couldn't even track it by the time of the movie. But the movie also was a little bit, you know, hurt by, you know, I don't know what their expectations for the Transformer movie was, but you know, whatever they were, they didn't, you know, they didn't feel they got to, you know, their, you know, the audience they expected, and there was a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it was a real time of change, and you know, so you know, the movie got sort of short shrift. You know, and never really got the, you know, kind of exposure it deserved.
You know, I love the movie, and I loved Cobra Law and that whole thing. I just, people say that, you know, well, I stopped watching the movie because that was or Cobra Law and all that was just too far.
I could see that.
We had Monsters in the Pit. We had, you know, all this other stuff, and people. I just a complaint I have that of fans. Not, you know, I thought you did a great job. I love the Monster in the Pit. And
yeah, well, I had nothing to do with that. That's all Buzz or somebody else. So I can, you know, can't take credit for any of that. But well, I mean, but you know, even when we're talking about Skeletons in the Closet, you're starting to get fantasy in there, because we basically viewed it as all of our shows were in the same world.
Right.
Okay, we could not do crossovers. You know, they're apparently going to do one now, but that was absolutely verboten. Just, yeah, I mean, and you know, I mean, it was frustrating to us because, you know, we would have characters like Hector Ramirez appeared in everything, and even Jem. But you know, we just viewed it as, see, all this is going on at the same time, and so, you know, the Monster in the Pit was, you know, may or may not have been something that came out of Inhumanoids. I mean, we, you know, but you know, though, yeah, that was, you know, I think Buzz wrote an episode or two of Inhumanoids. I don't remember, but you know, they're certainly around for it and aware of it, but you know, that was not something they were thinking about.
But my question is actually, this ends with the, you know, the Monster in the Pit kind of splurging up, you know, the traditional, you know, the end question mark. Did you ever want to write a follow-up to this, or was that ever discussed?
Well, yeah, as I said, I was not on Joe at that point. You know, so I mean, nobody was talking to me about writing follow-ups for it. You know, I was like, we got 13 more episodes of Visionaries to do. You know,
right, but is that something you wanted to do when you wrote this? I guess is that something you had in mind?
Well, just the idea, you know, at the time, I mean, we just thought this is going to go on forever, right?
Right.
And so everything was a setup, and what you know is that it's you know, it's got to change and evolve, and so I mean, because you know, certainly by the time I got there, I mean, we had two. We already had the miniseries, and yeah, we want to see something brilliant. I mean, Ron Friedman's miniseries beginning for G.I. Joe. Inside 5 minutes, it's like a writer's franchise class. You know who G.I. Joe is, why you need G.I. Joe. You know who Cobra is. I mean, you know who the main characters are. It's just brilliant. But we'd had enough episodes where, you know, Cobra has the plot of the week, and you know, and they're going to manipulate weather this week, you know, and so you have to go to character after that. You know, I mean, you kind of get done with plot, you've set up your world, and so you're going to characters, and then you try to expand the mythology of it. I mean, we had the episode where they're, you know, in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Gordon Kent was an interesting person on the show too, for just like kind of insider trivia. Gordon wrote probably the kind of darkest, most serious episode being, I can't remember what it was called. It was the one, it was like, you know, almost like an episode of a modern commando show or something, but it, you know, it was one, it was Hard Target. I can't remember what it was called. And he wrote the Egyptian Underground one, with the name of that also escapes me. Gods Below, I think was what it was called. And he wrote the silly one with the plants, which was basically, you know, something that was a very 80s thing, and that was Little Shop of Horrors, which was maybe our silliest episode. Yeah, you know, I mean, it was the, you know, because I mean, he himself, you know, was the most informed animation person anywhere near our team. Like, he actually, you know, knew how it worked and explained to me how why the production, the voice recordings worked the way they did, and how the animation was done, and all that, which allowed us to do things that nobody else was doing at that point, because we were doing animating differently. And so eventually we could just have actors, doing the things ensemble, because we didn't need clean takes like you do for network shows. And you could just rewrite stuff on the fly, because a lot of the best stuff came, and this was later on, but it came out of the actors. We do a cold read at the beginning of the voice session. And usually it started out, it was stuff that was unprintable. And I'm sure Wally Burr, was like, somebody with a handcuff, briefcase to his wrist came in and took all the tapes, because this was not stuff you could put on children's television, because the actors were just having fun with the stuff. But they'd come up with really good lines, and always in the past you couldn't have used any of their lines, because the network had approved the script, and you had to do the script the network had approved. And about 2 months in, I was a little slow on the draw, but I realized I was a producer, and so in the studio I was the network. I didn't know that, because I was also some guy like 2 years out of film school, and then you had virtually no idea what I was doing. But so you just say, yeah, let's change the line, let's do this and that. And at first people were really panicked, and then they realized, oh yeah, he may get into trouble, and we'd always get the line as written. But so much of it came because the voice actors. They're actually actors and extremely talented people, and a lot of them were stand-up comedians and even writers themselves and stuff. So they brought an amazing amount to it, which gave it all a unique sound. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like the line David was talking about, that may well have been somebody in the room. Probably not. That sounds like a pretty written line, but they came up with great stuff.
And Kevin, you had a question?
Well, I had an observation first that I wanted to point out that I thought was fun, and then I have a question for you. So my observation was, I liked that you guys, of course, went to Scotland in this episode. And one of the reasons why I like that is, first of all, there is a real Loch Lomond there, because I've actually been there. And my wife and I have been there twice together, and I've been there 3 total times to Scotland. And I've actually driven around that loch before, so I know where it is. And there's some real castles all around that area, which is great. So that was a nice call out there. The question I have is regarding, and you touched on it earlier, Flint, and I'm really glad that you did, because you said about which characters you're going to decide that are going to go into an episode. And sometimes you're giving a suggestion, given the suggestion because they want to showcase some toys and characters and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, it's been kind of an ongoing thing when we do cover these cartoons. It's like there's some really oddball characters of G.I. Joe that put themselves in certain adventures. We always kind of joke, like, was that the best team that should have been there in the first place? And so I wanted to ask you, because the question that I have for this episode is, was this the right team for this mission? You have Lady J, Flint, Spirit, and of course, one of my favorites, Freedom, right here.
Right.
Barbecue, Snake Eyes, and then Rando, Green Joe troops. So my question for you, do you remember, because you made a comment that sometimes you like to throw in something that you like. Do you remember in this episode what was told to you? You had to have these guys, and was there one that you decided to throw in?
I would assume all the characters that weren't Flint, Lady J. I never would have been thinking, hey, yeah, I got Freedom in there. Because you got, in those days, was a fax. Today it would be an email, but you would say something like, oh, we're discontinuing, howitzer and put in, Freedom for, howitzer. Okay. Or you just get, we'd like to feature these characters in there to make sure they're all in there. And what was great about it is, then you could write, and this is what I tended to do, because I've always liked those kind of movies that are cutting between 2 seemingly unrelated actions, but they all end up being related, and I think every script I did that. So you could do, Ode to Cobra, you can have, the ninja guys showing up in the British Museum stealing stuff. And you could have, what's his name? The guy with the swamp buggy. I remember, it's like, how do I get a swamp buggy? Oh, I know how to get a swamp buggy in this, and because they give you vehicles too that you're supposed to use. Okay. And you have to remember that in most cases, we'd never seen the actual toys. What we had drawings. They're copies of the Bible out there, because I found mine and when I cleaned out all my storage. And we had a big red binder. There was a Bible that had, kind of the basic bios of the character. We went more off we'd write voice auditions for them. And the voice audition would, usually key off a known figure because the actor had to have somewhere to start, and then you'd work from there. And by the time you've written 5 lines by the characters, they're their own character anyway. But you try to figure out what their voice tics were and their personality and how that would fit with the character. But it was very abstract. I mean, it wasn't like anybody, sometimes we would get toys. Okay, and they'd send them to us. But I mean, we didn't usually see them. I mean, we got I have a huge regret that I didn't steal the general flag we were using as a coffee table and an ashtray holder. That was the 80s. Yeah, everybody smoked at that point. But anyway, and but it was very rare that they do that. I remember Bob Prupus, who was head of Boys Toys at that point. I think he was cleaning out his office. Just sent a box of Joes and Transformers. I took him up to the Dungeon and Dragon mansion, and we made this giant miniatures game out in the front yard, trying to figure out what happens if Cobra and the Decepticons fight Joe and the Autobots. It was so kind of loose. It wasn't like things would later become with the franchise. We're just making it up, and the guys that had Bob Prupus and what's his name? The guy he's still, you've probably talked to him. They and Joe and Tom and Jay. Yeah, I mean, they were enablers and facilitators. They were not anything like people telling you what you couldn't do. The more outrageous you made it, the happier they were.
Aaron, I just have to say, I can't let this episode end without me making one more observation. And this is kind of an ongoing thing with our podcast on the cartoon. There's a lot of beautiful women that are showcased in this TV series, which is why my dad would probably watch it with me sometimes.
Well, that was part of what I was telling you.
Yeah, and you had talked about that. The parents were watching this, and I have to say that Destro has wrist rockets, and he called them heat-seeking missiles, and he shot them at Lady J and Flint. And
right.
You're shooting heat-seeking missiles, and the reason why it worked is because Lady J is hot.
Right. I mean, that's that. I mean, any episode I did had an inordinate number of attractive women, because Steve and I basically thought of Joe as being James Bond.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. We didn't think of it as an army show. It was somewhere between special ops or then Delta.
I had to get that out there. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but it's true. I mean, that was we're getting them in. I mean, just go watch any of the following. Go watch Games Master. Go watch Oda Cobra, which is, I love that episode. That is not anybody's favorite episode except mine. But because it was all about that. I wanted to be like, because when I was a kid, you put that in there, the kids don't notice it. I mean, it's like, Goldfinger like changed my life, and then later Thunderball, and and then going back and seeing the because Goldfinger hit when I was 8 years old, and I'd like but when I came out of the movie, okay, I saw a car with machine guns on them, which is what I thought about with Transformers. I was thinking about these toys are as cool to them as my little corgi Aston Martin was to me, and I saw the guy with the hat that had laser, the bowler with the the razors on it. And, that was the movie I saw. I go back and see it when I'm 18 and say, where'd all these women come from? That was just invisible to me. And I was probably older than that before I figured out.
When you rewatch Buck Rogers in the 25th Century at an older person level, it has on a different take.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah. I mean, I was talking to Erin Gray about that, right? Because I've gotten to kind of know her and since then. Yeah, she played Wilma. You know, she was
Yep.
Buck Rogers'. And she is fabulous. Oddly enough, she had a business called Heroes for Hire, and she was an agent for celebrities to appear at conventions. You know, she'd do their deal, and you know, do the green M&Ms, and you know, she had a lot of pretty big people. I mean, you know, Nathan Fillion and stuff like that. But and she was telling me about one day she walked on the set, and she said all the men were acting really weird. And I said, why? You know, because I mean, the show was that 80s, you know, pretty girl show, we'll call it that.
Yep.
And I said, why? And she said, well, I walked in and I saw this person that didn't look like anybody, you know, I'd ever seen before. And it was, I don't know if she said exactly that, but that was it. And it was Dorothy Stratton, who, if you know your 80s trivia, was Star 80, you know, was the Playboy of the Year was murdered by her boyfriend, but she was apparently just, you know, in real life looked like what you always thought Playboy. And that's what the Buck Rogers show was. I mean, it's not an accident she appeared on that show. And there weren't inordinate. And that was part of the vibe, even up until, you know, we're doing this stuff in the mid 80s, but that was just fun. You know, whatever my issues with Buck Rogers, the Buck Rogers show, which I've revised that, because it's like, I mean, I wanted to write a Buck Rogers. I had a really good premise for a Buck Rogers, and you know, and apparently Glenn Larson was interested, but you know, they already had all those shows. But yeah, I mean, but nobody really wanted to let the son of the licensor, and I now understand that, you know, be around the production. You know, that's you don't do that. You know, but yeah, I would have written good Buck Rogers. But,
so real quick, couple of things.
Never do that again.
Couple of things real quick. So Kevin, Aaron Gray.
Hot, but I've gone over to Princess Ardala. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Pamela Hensley. Well,
Pamela Hensley is smoking every time she's in there. I'm like, that's my new favorite.
Such opposites. They were perfect foils for each other.
Yes.
Yeah, Erin's really great. She's really smart.
And Jared would have said the same thing, but he's on mute. I'm just saying.
Right.
Oh, always passing it off on me.
Again, you are Jared's thoughts. So,
and also, given the content here, I mean, you really should be doing, Cover Girl or something there.
You should be doing my next comment. The blonde that Dexter rescued, Kevin.
Yeah, I noticed her.
Hot.
And of course,
I was thinking, I want to see, actually, that costume would be great for our G.I. Joe Finest Costume Group. It's having more female Cobra officers and Cobra troopers. That would be really cool as well.
Oh yeah. And
Lady J. Hensley. No, just kidding.
And Kevin, Lady J in her nightgown.
Yeah, that gown.
God, I was getting Ewok Village Leia vibes. Let me just put it that way. Jesus Christ.
And over in the chat, moving away quickly before I get one of us in trouble. JSP has joined us. He said, "How's it going, gentlemen?" I guess he's referring to Flint. Me, gentleman here. Oh, and
yeah, obviously not referring to me, but yeah.
Back when you're talking about, you know, throwing everybody you can to the episodes, JSP had a question. He said, was that the thought process for the episode? 20 questions.
What was, remind me what 20 questions was? Because I think I edited it, but I mean, you know, it's
that was the one with Geraldo doing like a
right, yes.
I'm just looking at the snops on that one. There it is. They were planning to invade the Rocky Mountain chemical weapons. And Hector Ramirez was doing a expose on G.I. Joe. Is G.I. Joe a waste of time and taxpayer money and all this?
Well, okay. I mean, you start here. I mean, Geraldo Rivera, who I think retired last year. I mean, when you talk about a long career, at that moment, Geraldo Rivera was doing these ridiculous TV specials, right?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, there's another total 80s moment. He finds Al Capone's vault in Chicago.
He did not find anything either.
Yeah, no, there was like some bottle comes falling out. Okay. I mean, it was this big banana peel, and that would never happen now. Maybe on some internet, podcast, but I mean, you would not see a major, studio opening the vault and not finding anything in it. They would, they put something in there, and yet that was the genius of it. But we were just so kind of mesmerized by Geraldo Rivera that I think Buzz may have created him. I don't remember.
I think so. Yeah, I've talked to Buzz before. Yeah, he created Geraldo, Hector, and used him. I know used him on Jim, Transformers, and Humanoids. I think he showed up in.
Yeah, no, that was me. I mean, I saw the guy. We basically, it was the first draft was probably Geraldo Rivera, knowing we couldn't do it, and Buzz, I think he named him Hector Ramirez. So okay. I mean, he's all over in Humanoids because those were media shows. And that's something we were thinking, because that was all media was changing then. I mean, so much is about context, and the whole reason for thinking about this is what do you do now? Okay, to leverage things that way. I mean, you'd have some Joe Rogan character sitting in the middle of this, and you have all these kind of cartoon characters from the 80s are kind of back. I mean, for sad reasons. I mean, Ozzy Osbourne and Hulk Hogan. That world's trying to rebirth itself.
Oh, yeah.
And these, but because I mean, it was just so, it was so striking and ridiculous, and it was people trying to figure out, because all of a sudden you have 900 cable channels, and it was the first time people had to create ridiculous content to put on there just to fill time. And so we're looking at, I mean, Frank, when he was doing, I met in exactly in this period, Frank Miller, when he was doing Dark Knight, did an incredible job of all the different opinions you see coming out of the cable TVs and all that. Well, we were all reacting to that. I mean, that was, now it's standard op for you guys. I mean, look what we're doing right now. But I mean, for, back then, I mean, you have something produced as well as a cable show would have been in the 80s that you're doing, from your computer. And other than certain inept people that don't know how to use the program, they'll go nameless, mainly me. I can't get their microphone to work. But I mean, look at the production we're looking at. I'm the only one with a boring background, which, by the way, that was the kind of thing that I had up in my wall. I think I bought it around that period. And that's, because I was an ancient history major in college. So, I mean, whenever there was an opportunity to put ancient stuff in there, done. It's in there. And I was designing D&D stuff at that point.
Oh, yeah, very nice. JSP says that, Geraldo was Jerry Springer before Jerry Springer.
Yes. Well, Geraldo got in this fight with a bunch of Nazis on his show, and they're throwing chairs around. I mean, you guys like old enough to remember that?
Yeah. I remember. I was watching that episode.
Yeah. He had the nose brace on the next episode.
Yeah.
I just heard about it later on. I mean, that was, it's you guys are older than I thought you were.
I'm 55.
What?
I'm 55. So
right, okay.
54.
How are you two still alive?
You know what? With me not being able to walk,
hush, you young pup.
I don't know how I'm still alive. I think someone hates me, but that's another story entirely.
But yeah, that was. I mean, what's really funny too, speaking of Raiders, is my other team, because I grew up in Chicago, right, was the Bears. And so basically the Transformers, to remember all the new characters, they just characterized them off of 85 Bears and various other players I liked and I mean, the most nightmarish game I ever watched was right that season in between the Raiders winning the Super Bowl and the Bears winning it. That was the 4 starting quarterbacks on both teams got knocked out of the game. I mean, and so I mean, I think the Raiders finally, Mark Wilson came stumbling out. Ray Guy, I think, was going to quarterback, and then and Walter Payton was quarterbacking for the Walter Payton, who was a quarterback in college, was the quarterback. But anyway, that was like all over this stuff. Yeah, Sweetness, and Howie Long was saying, how do you rush this guy? I mean, he's the best running back in history. How do you don't dare rush him, and he can throw.
Yeah, I'm not a football guy like our friend Kevin is. Yeah, I'm a Bears fan. So
yeah, where are you from?
I'm in California. I'm in Fresno, near Fresno,
Santa Barbara.
So how did you get to be a Bears fan?
Again, I'm not a big football fan, but back in the mid '80s when they were doing really good, I just picked them up.
Yeah, you had to love it. I mean, they were a big personality team.
They did the Super Bowl shuffle. They did the, that whole thing. So I just kind of, I like these guys. The Refrigerator Perry.
Yep. Who was the G.I. Joe?
Yes, I was going to say, and they made him a G.I. Joe character. So
McMahon was just like the quarterback,
Oh, he was like the coolest guy in the world, I mean, and for when he wasn't hurt for a couple seasons, he was probably as good as any quarterback that ever played in the league. I mean, he was amazing. but he was a very, fragile guy.
In the chat, JSP was correcting me. He said he wasn't correct. Hector was never in the Transformers, but he was in.
Oh yeah, he is in Transformers, and I'm trying to remember the episode. He's
I thought he was, but I've got crappy memory, so maybe
I believe there was an episode that they showcased him. I remember hearing something.
And JSP also he was about to
because people bring pictures where they have shots of Hector Ramirez in every show, and I'm maybe I'm lying to you, but I don't think so. I'm not voluntarily lying to you, but I think he's in Transformers somewhere. It would be weird if he was, because even in Jam, there's no way to get him into Visionaries. It would have been.
Yeah, he was all over the place.
Yeah.
But I thought he was, but I could be mistaken on that. But Dave, it's been a while since we heard from you. Got any questions or thoughts?
Yeah, there's one thing that I really liked as a kid from the episode. It's the fact that I think the only time that we see Destro being an actual arms dealer.
Yes.
It's too bad that his stuff is like breaking down behind him.
Yeah.
I always thought that it was a cool thing that you have a guys who is procuring weapons and vehicles for Cobra, but you never see that. Save for that one.
Well, that was his whole scam. Was he's obviously mostly into trying to get Cobra to because he knew Cobra Commander's an idiot, and he so basically the more stuff that got wrecked, the more money he made. So he was making crap stuff, which was really funny. We did it just for the gag partly, but the other part of it was it kind of explained why nobody ever got hit by the guns, and and their planes were inordinately fragile and all that. He was making which by the way is pretty much what happened to the oligarchs in Russia. I mean, people are making the T9s. I don't think they ever thought the Russian army would ever have tanks in combat again, and they were stealing all the really good metal for their yachts. And what?
I was getting the vibe of the movie Lord of War with Nicolas Cage, where he's an arms dealer, and it really dives into that world. So I agree. It was great to see him actually doing what he usually does.
Deal of the century, Kevin. Deal of the century.
If we thought of it, we probably would have done more with that. It was all moving so fast, and there were so many, because we had to get an episode done every week.
Right.
And it got to the point I remember Jay Bacall talking about one time. It was like, you were in a car factory, and hey, this one doesn't have a windshield. Okay, well, we'll get one in there. Oh, this one, the tires are, we'll get tires on there, and like sooner or later, cars are going by with defects, and again, you get them. But and there was not a lot of time to stop and think. You'd say, okay, this is what our episode's about, and these are the characters they want us to use in it. And and we got to have it done in a week. So, but we tended to use every part of the production to make it a little bit better. The recording sessions, editing sessions, stuff like that. We started cutting out the guys, the parachutes popping open. I mean, we figured people got that.
And there's a line in there. I'm not sure if it's Flint who says it, but someone says, "I would not wish that stuff on Cobra."
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was the whole thing. They know it was a bunch of crap. Destro is selling them. This crapola stuff. Cobra Commander's too whacked out to do it, but you want a different, relationship between Destro and Cobra Commander than you had, say, between Starscream and Megatron, and that is, Starscream's always trying to take his job. Destro had no interest. Well, I mean, one thing we did, okay, is and this was what I did. It's in Dungeons and Dragons, there's an alignment chart. And so you don't just have good guys and bad guys, but you have lawful good, neutral good, and chaotic good. And you have, lawful evil, neutral evil, and chaotic evil. And not all evil guys get along with each other. And then you have neutrals. And, with G.I. Joe, the neutrals were mostly either, characters who were just in the episode, random humans. But some of them, like the business kind of guys, I don't know that Destro really sat around deciding he was going to be evil every day. He was just trying to make money. So he's sort of a neutral, and if he's a neutral, then all of a sudden you can deal with him. You can deal with something that's you touch. you hate whatever's opposite you, that you don't touch. That's why Cobra Commander, who himself was half crazy, but he's obviously lawful because he's Cobra Commander. But he didn't deal particularly well with Zartan and the crazier guys because or the ninjas. I mean, it's like that was just weird to him. You know what I mean? And the ninja guys, had some, presumably some, Bushido code they were following, so they weren't entirely chaotic, but they were, for one reason or another doing what they were doing. But anyway, once you thought of characters that way, you had to figure out why are they doing what they're doing. You know what I mean? Why is this, chaotic guy belong to an organization called G.I. Joe? Well, he didn't fit anywhere else. And that was a button. That's, your shipwrecks and guys like that, it was, the subtext. You couldn't have them out, at a bar half drunk because this was children's television. But, that was the implication of it.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Jared, let's get back to you. Any thoughts or questions for
Sure.
your esteemed guest?
What I've enjoyed the most from talking with Flint is you clearly, sir, you look back on this fondly. It's clear that you look back with a tremendous amount of joy, and I love that, and I just love that about you. So my question is, as you look back, and I know you've done many, many things, but looking back, since this is a Joe podcast, looking back on Joe, what was just one of the things that made you the absolute happiest around this?
Oh, I mean, I'll just categorically say, that whole era of my life was, one of the A-list eras, and there have been other ones for different reasons. But as far as first of all, especially with Joe, that was just, I was made to do that. Okay. You know what I mean? In other words, I was formed to do that show. And Steve Gerber was probably the best story editor in the history of animation. So we would just jam ideas, and we had a fundamentally identical theories on what the show should be. Wildly different human beings, but we totally agreed what what we were trying to do. And he was a real, seasoned pro. As I said, I was some, kid out of film school. And at that moment, but I was also, really learning, a lot about designing games. So, and there was no line between work and life at that point. It's these characters, Lady J was to some extent, kind of like my girlfriend at that moment,
lucky.
Yeah. Well, she was in animation, right? She went on to write Beauty and the Beast and Lion King and all that. she ended up with quite a career. But anyway, so you just think about it that way. And, so it's it was just all one continuum. And also the world was just so alive. I feel a little bit of that coming back now. Maybe that's why I'm happy to see all these wrestlers showing up and everything. But just there was just all these outrageous characters, and you had, and everything was colorful. So the whole world was Technicolor. The movies were, and we kind of reference them all in the shows. We're watching, everything from Star Wars, obviously, hung over the culture, and they're still being made. Indiana Jones, Terminator, Alien and Aliens, that came out exactly when we were doing it. And then you had all these big goofy action stars, from Sylvester Stallone to Arnold Schwarzenegger to Dolph Lundgren to, you had all the, and Mr. T. Yeah, I did the Mr. T show before I did this, and that was the first show I ever did. So it was you're living in this great vibrant world, and all these mediums are exploding, but none of them had gotten, MTV had just shown up, and later on you have Miami Vice going on while you're doing this, so we could, and so everything was happening, at the time, and it was so, it was very easy, and just life was fun. Life was like living in a movie at that point.
The 80s, man, it just never got better.
Speaking of the 80s, just real quick, I got to make a quick comment. Was the line in the episode, which I thought was funny, because it has a more famous line in a bigger movie, but this cartoon came out before the movie, was when Destro was doing the auction and the Joes came in and they wanted to arrest all the guys that were buying or bidding, and they all hold up diplomatic immunity. You can't arrest us. And I didn't really know what that meant until Lethal Weapon 2, when the guy goes diplomatic immunity.
Right. Yes.
Glover shoots him in the head, but that movie came out 4 years later.
Yeah. Well, remember, everybody was watching everything. You know, I have no idea what the guys doing Lethal Weapon were watching.
I think they were watching your cartoon going, we got to put that in there.
But it was probably, because a lot of it came out of news stories.
Yeah.
And we got in a lot of trouble. It was a Transformer episode, but Casey Kasem was all bent out of shape because we were basically doing the Gulf of Sidra incident, which was when Muammar Gaddafi, sent a couple Su-22s to try to shoot down F-14. Didn't work out well, but Reagan. Okay, but yeah, you would have people trying doing criminal stuff and then trying to claim diplomatic immunity, and we'd see that and be outrageous and all that. So you just put it in the show, but you take the most absurd possible way of doing it. And that's because we just viewed. Because when we were doing this, the Soviet Union was still in business. Right. They were not quite the menace they were. But it's all happening. After the Iran hostage crisis. The time's not that different than now, actually. Right. And Donald Trump. Come on, he was a character out of the '80s. Another ridiculous character who we probably parodied in some show. He went on his career grew, but nevertheless, that's that. We got a lot of '80s happening right now.
Oh, yeah. And real quick, if we take a break from talking about this, before you have to run off, you have to steer on us.
Throw me out of here when you got to do the your thing. But
we're no big hurry. I don't want to take into your time if you got to take off for the family. But I want to get.
Yeah, I got to go be husband and dad here.
Yeah, I want to get a couple of sound bites from you real quick for the show.
Sure.
If I get you to say, "This is Flint Dille," and you're listening to G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast.
What headcast?
A Real American Headcast. Let me.
Oh, okay. Yes, Flint Dille, you're listening to a Real American Headcast here, and these guys are head cases, actually. If you want the low down dirty truth, but there's some really great art being done in the upper right hand corner here.
And if I get you to say "Yo Joe," so use a soundbite.
Yo Joe, Yo Joe, Yo Joe. Yo, 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 Joe. That, by the way, is how the voice actors used to act. Yo, Joe.
Fantastic.
Yo, Joe. Yo, Joe.
And
you, Joe.
Which one of us is Joe?
He's in the chat. Joe Jackson. And if I get one more if I get you to say, again, this is Flint Dille, and you're listening to the Energon Protocols. I'd appreciate
this. This is Flint Dille, and you're listening to the Energon Protocols. Now, Energon's really actually pretty dangerous, and they're trying to make it illegal. But yes, you're listening to the protocols now. So get it while you can, because who knows? Either that or it's going to be powering all the AI. Yeah, we'll see.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I do it. We do a role playing game. Renegade Stews is released a G.I. Joe role playing game, and we play that. And David's on there with us. And
that's great.
As a podcast, so I just wanted to have an opening for that.
Now, when you play the RPG, do you use the figures like they're miniatures, or
no? We do it online.
Right.
We use Discord. So yeah, it's just our game master Eric Smith describes the action to us, and we tell him what we're doing, and we do it all via voice. We don't have camera set up; it's just all voice.
Has anybody ever done a really good G.I. Joe video game? I haven't seen one, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Not yet.
I have one that was released about 3 or 4 years ago. I forget the title of it. It was okay.
Operation Blackout, like it is.
I think so.
Yeah. That one's okay.
Got it on Xbox.
It's okay. The less bad one.
Because I would love to do a game. Because as I was saying, that's what I went on to do a lot of after.
Right. Well, sure, there's more world building with it. So yeah.
Yeah, well, but we got the world. Now you just milk that world, but you want to have episodes that jump back and forth. The coordinated missions we were doing and having it play out by story, and like a story where, so then you can use all the characters. You get Ashtray in there, Dipstick, and yeah. Anyway, so all right, I will go away. You guys talk about the comic book. I just got a message.
Yeah, real quick.
Good to have you, Flint. Appreciate you.
All right, yeah, thank you very much, Flint. I appreciate your time. And
great. No, I'm here, and I'll come back if there's something else you want to ask.
Yeah, I'd definitely love to have you on when we talk about the season 2 episode you worked on. I'd love to.
Great.
I enjoyed you. Thank you very much, sir. You have a great day.
Perfect. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Flint.
Thanks, Flint.
Who was that guy?
He has some cartoon called G.I. Joseph or something like that.
I gotta tell you, dude he was like 8 when Goldfinger came out. He looks good for his age. I was like,
he does.
He looks young.
Yeah. No, I wish I looked that good, and I'm younger than he is. So.
When he said he was 8 when Goldfinger, I was like, how old is this dude? He does not look that old.
Jared's doing the math.
I was like, he does not look that old.
I was getting nervous because I wrote these notes and I didn't realize he was going to be on the show. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to say some of these in front of me.
I have my sheet here and I was like, uh-oh.
I know, right? I got like,
uh-oh.
Do we say those now? I mean,
I'm going to say, again, I'm going to let him know when the episode comes out. So I don't know but honestly, is he going to take time out of his day to listen to a show that he's already been on?
I'll tell you what, Timmy, we'll tell him that you wrote my list and I wrote your list.
There you go.
It's going to be similar anyway.
So, David, any other thoughts or comments about the cartoon now that our guest is?
Not really about the cartoon. Just wanted to say about the RPG.
Yes.
You know that on the show, I do this really sick French-Canadian accent. So I decided to just use it in real life just to make sure that people don't get all confused.
You'll get confused.
Yeah, I knew it.
I did have to mention one observation, and I would have brought it up with Flint, but I forgot. I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this. So the supernatural hits hard in this episode.
Yes.
So you got the Lady J sacrifice attempt, a gigantic spider, an octopus, the gigantic eye, spirits, a moving skeleton. But the thing that creeped me out the most was the creepy large maid that knows gymnastics.
You see, when she first started the gymnast, well, first off, a couple comments on that. When they showed the blonde that rescued Destro and he was bad talking Baroness, I'd not forgotten for sure because it's been a while since I've seen this one. I'm like, that's Baroness. And then when they showed the maid doing the gymnastics and flipping around, I'm like, is this Baroness too?
I just assumed it was her as well.
Yeah. And also, this episode's missing one thing since, he's drawing and I've got freedom here.
I could see in your eyes how badly when I started drawing this freedom, I was like, oh, I'm killing Kevin.
Oh, I had to hold that to myself because we had the guest.
I saw it. I saw it in your eyes.
Oh, finally got that out. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. I figured you holding back, and I know Jared's got a list. And I'm sure he's holding back, not to offend. I don't know why you start now. Jared, do you have thoughts on the cartoon you want to continue on about?
Well, let me just take a look at my list real quick here since I'm about done drawing Nell's Spirit and Freedom. All right. I'll just run rapid fire for you. And you can actually see the list. It's like an extra bonus here. Destro, smooth operator, period.
Yes.
Did the Joe team do any research before trying to arrest those people? Because as prevention, they were like, you're all under arrest. Diplomatic immunity. Damn it. Okay, that was the end of that story.
You probably didn't know who was all there, so.
Now, my fellow Star Wars friends, I'm pretty sure I heard lightsaber noises and TIE fighter noises in this episode. Pretty sure I did. Just saying. You're gonna like this one, Aaron. That lady is obviously the Baroness, is a note that I wrote down. I dig the Destro history. Gung Ho is a deadbeat. Alpine is a creepy snooper, getting in everybody's mail. I need a solicitor. What's that?
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, he's like, leave him alone, Dan. It's not your mail. But that is kind of typical in a military organization. When the guy starts giving out mail, they always have to feel like they have to comment on it.
That was the past due car bill for Gung Ho.
Yes.
Chanel #5 scented admirer letter for Roadblock.
Gung Ho's a deadbeat. He was like, I think I already paid that. Let's see. I need a solicitor Nicholas action figure. That guy was like, he was like, and then like we never saw him again. I was like, okay, he's just an evil lawyer, I guess. Let's see here. Lady J's pink nightgown, Kevin.
Hot.
And then it got torn, making it,
hotter.
And how cool was it that it matched her javelin golf bag?
Mm-hmm.
That's coordination right there.
Yes.
I wrote down that this is the Scooby-Doo episode of G.I. Joe. With the fake ghosts. I like this one. Well, Lady J clearly went to Duke's School of Capture Evasion because she 100% got captured.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What is it? What the hell I can't even tell what I wrote here. I could read it. The cape. The cape is an awesome accessory for Destro.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I wrote, is Flint cosplaying as Shipwreck? Because it feels like he's cosplaying as Shipwreck.
I kind of saw Shipwreck's dad, maybe, or
yes. Destro's animal masked friends from his like cult. That'd be a cool figure set. Like, you know how Super 7's doing a lot of animated stuff. Like if they released them as a set.
Creepy AF.
Oh, they are creepy all the way. Yeah, but
that'd be cool.
I like how Snake Eyes showed up for about 2 seconds and completely stole the show, doing awesome Snake Eyes-y trouble bubble acquisition things.
Love
let's see. Oh, I wrote down it was the Baroness, and she would have gotten away with it too if it had been for these meddling Joes. Scooby-Doo reference. And then what's the last thing I wrote? This was a complimentary thing, which we did talk about. And they made a neat connection between Destro and Lady J, like they're actually related.
Yeah.
So I just want to bounce one more thing off my notes and I'm done. And it's off to what Jared just said. And I wrote the last note here saying, Baroness in disguise revealed at the end when she confronts Destro. Is the Baroness a better Zartan than Zartan?
That's another thought I had though, Aaron, with the lady in the Kung Fu maid. I was like, is this Zartan? So my second thought.
I thought it was Baroness again. Just keep an eye on Destro.
Let's add her to my list of action figure once, by the way. Kung Fu lady maid.
And he's gone, but Joe said
one thing,
please do the game.
What's that, Dave?
I was just going to say from that episode, the character that the Baroness is cosplaying as, Destro knows her, but from who? From where? I would like to know from where he knows that woman.
So it's not the first time she's run that scam on
him. Any other thoughts on the cartoon? David, you good? Or you got any thoughts or comments?
I'm good. Thank you.
Kevin, you good?
I'm good.
All right. And again, we're doing things a lot of order. So we're going to go into Postbox the Pit. So again, we're going to start over on Facebook. Again, this is everybody. This one either made many people that post things or are active on the Facebook. So first up, very, very active, especially recently, our buddy here, Kevin Reitzel.
What?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Yeah. There was an Alexis Lucia, Yojo Jackson, Peppy Pat Sampson, our game master, Eric Smith, Michael Karnawaka, and I'm probably butchering that, I'm sorry, and James Vaughn Werner. Over on Blue Sky, I don't do much over there. Only shout I'm going to get for Blue Sky is David Martell, the guy that talked me into going over there and setting up Blue Sky finally. So I post my links on there. Thanks, Dave. Over on Twitter or X. I'm going to skip this. This guy's an idiot. Oh, Jared Albrecht.
I knew it.
You knew it. You knew it.
Sorry, bastard.
And over on Patreon, we have Bill Bear. And as mentioned at the top of the show, Big Danny Cool and Sean Adams. Thank you guys very much. And let's bring this back up. Again, I got sidetracked with our guest. I forgot to bring up my slideshow. So we ripped Jim Shooter. We talked about the cartoon. And there you go, Kevin. That's the image I used for it. Because again, hot.
Hold on. Why are you staying on that for just a fraction of a second? Jeez.
Lady J.
Jared needs time to process this, you know?
Lady J, and the J stands for, you know what? Never mind. Let's move on.
Jared, remember, I I'm the guy that has to speak for you when it comes to
Right, my bad. I really got carried away. And
yeah, I'm your sexy translator. So yeah.
And see, I was expecting Jared to do the hot blonde Cobra Trooper instead of Spirit today. But yeah, no.
if only we had talked before I started this thing.
But yes, that was a very nice image. I'd use that one. Can we move on? Do you want to stay here for another couple seconds?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, anyways. And then, as I said, we're in Post Box of the Pits. We talked about Facebook, Patreon. And let me get back to my notes. I got running behind here. And so these are all the places you can reach out to me. There's gijoe@headspeaks.com. That's our email. You can go on to facebook.com/groups/GI Joe. You can watch us every month on youtube.com/@g.i.joe_headcast. I also stream this to Twitch at twitch.tv/brotherhead69. Over on x.com, it's GI Joe. x.com/GI Joe Headcast. I'm on Instagram at instagram.com/headcast and patreon.com/headcast network. So definitely check us out at those locations. And moving on to the next segment, the Soldier of the Month.
Come on.
Again, as I said, I'm not above bribery. I that's who I am. And there's someone that's done something special for the show or for me or whatever it may be. This month's Soldier of the Month. I wasn't quite sure who to use it first, but yesterday solidified it for me, or was the day before. I was on vacation with the family, and I got a message from our very own Kevin Reitzel. And they were doing the cold slither at Cobra at San Diego Comic-Con. And I'd asked him previously, because I know one year when they did the Chuckles, they gave him a code, and Kevin reached out to me, hey, I got an extra code if you want one. I didn't have the money, so I skipped it. Wish I would have done that. Like, anyways, but I told him, well, if you guys do another code, I will definitely do that for the cold slither, because I knew this was going to be a San Diego exclusive or whatever, how they're working it. And yeah, Kevin reached out to me and said he was able to procure me one. So thank you very much for that, Kevin. And for that, you are our Soldier of the Month. To our Soldier of the Month from all of us here at GI Joe, a Royal American Headcast, and the Headcast Studios. We salute you.
You see, Jared, you have to buy his love.
Yeah,
yes, you do.
Got it, right?
Much like my kids, you need to buy my
I
love.
think the last time I got Soldier of the Month, I mailed him some stuff. I'm starting to figure it out.
So, Aaron, do me a favor. Put the slide down, because I want to show you. Do you want me to mention what happened there? Or
yeah, that's probably a good point for that. Let me remove that. There we are. Okay. So let me see real quick. I've done Soldier of the Month. So yeah, the next thing is the comic book. So before we get to that, let's go ahead and do a San Diego update.
Yeah, just give you a quick recap. So I just got back yesterday from Comic-Con, and I went down there to represent the GI Joe Finest Costume Club. We got hooked up with some free passes to help promote and assist in photographs and stuff like that at the Hasbro booth, but also at the RPM booth, and that they stand for Reigning Phoenix Music. They are a record company and promotion company, and they were crucial for getting the Cold Slither band together to promote not only Cold Slither live in person, but also to promote the new album that they released. They recorded also the live concert that the actors who are real musicians dressed up as the Dreadnoughts and Zartan performed live on Thursday night, and it was a great concert. At the end, on their they did the Cold Slither song twice. The second time they did for the encore, they had the actress Britta something, who was the voice of Jem, come on to sing a song. Oh, and so she came on and performed, and so they were great. They did that, and they also signed at the RPM booth. They also came by the Hasbro booth, and we all were, we're there to help and take pictures with them and stuff like that. And I did want to mention real quick, they had a cool T-shirt exclusive for the show. Let me show you that real quick. Right here, here we go. This was at the concert, the Cold Slither T-shirt.
Hold on a second. Let me bring you bigger. There you are.
You'll be joining us now, and it actually has the date of the show right there in San Diego.
Kevin never texted me to ask me my T-shirt size, which is weird, but
they were selling this CD there as well. This is autographed by all of them, and there is the full track list of all the songs that are on the CD, as well as what they perform live, including Welcome to the Swamp, Cold Slither, Knock 'Em Dead, Thunder Machine, Zartan's Revenge, Snakes on the Bayou, Torched, Under the Dreadnought Spell, Master of Disguise, that was one of my favorites, by the way, The Ballad of Buzzer, and These Fluffies Are Fatal are among there. They also did a tribute to Ozzy Osbourne and did an Ozzy song, or a Black Sabbath song, which was very cool. But back at the Hasbro booth, and by the way, they also had this shirt as well at the RPM exclusive. This Cold Slither shirt here saying Heavy Metal Machine. And then in this box right here is what's going to be coming to you, Aaron. This is the Cold Slither action figure, 4-figure set of the classified style. This one right here.
Very nice.
So,
Very nice.
I'll make sure to take it out of the box and then put it in a paper bag and mail it to you. Is that the way you want it shipped?
Yeah, that's the way Amazon does things. So.
The other thing too is they were selling exclusive kind of metallic posters for like $70 that you could buy at the show and then get signed. I didn't get one of those, but I do have different versions of the LP. This one, you be quiet there, Jared. I can hear you. There is the LP for you guys watching on the video that they were selling, and also they gave this to us as volunteers at the RPM booth. And this is the alternate cover version that you can get at the Hasbro Pulse, booth here. So they have those.
Can you buy those online? Do you are aware?
I believe you can, yes. And they did a free signing with the members of Cold Slither. They were great. They were in character as well, which is nice. And by the way, at the show, I got Torch threw out his guitar pick. I picked up Torch's guitar pick, and it said Cold Slither on one side and Torch on the other. I also grabbed a donut that he threw in the air. He was throwing donuts out, and I also picked up a grape soda. They were throwing out grape soda. And afterwards, though, after we were done with the day, I went back to the booth because I changed out of costume, and I actually talked to Gus, who is the lead singer and guitar player for he plays Zartan for Slither. And he was very cool. He was still signing autographs just by himself. And he was out of costume and stuff. And he had all these tattoos. And I got a chance to just talk with him for a while. He's a great guy. He's also a huge G.I. Joe fan.
Oh, very nice.
About how when he got certain toys when he was a kid, the Night Raven was like his best toy he had ever got. And we were, talking about nerding out about that. And then being a fellow musician, I had to ask him about his guitars and amplification. And so we did a little bit of music nerd discussion as well. So it was a great time. I put up a lot of pictures, of course, on Aaron's Facebook page for G.I. Joe Headcast, and I'll be adding more as well. And I just want to thank all of the finest members that helped out, my buddy Mark, and we had a great time. And the guys in Cold Slither, I don't know if they know what they've gotten into, and I asked Gus that. I'm like, do you realize that you might become more popular than you ever have with any other music you've ever done? He's like, yeah, I know that's possible. They're talking about other appearances with him, so we'll see.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. And thank you very much for that, Kevin. I appreciate you.
Got it, man.
Bye.
Yeah, Kevin, that's about the ship. Yeah, I ordered.
So you see what you have to do. You have to kiss major butt, Jared.
Yes, that helps. Aaron. It helps.
It really does. So.
I hate this show, and I hate all of you.
I don't see that I don't have the means to do that.
But yeah, Kevin was asked about mailing just in a bag. Yeah, I ordered the Adam action for the Superpowers Adam action figure because, as people may know, one of my two favorite characters. It's ordered from Amazon. It came in first time it came in one of those plastic bags they send out.
Oh God, with no
protection.
Was all
beaded. The up in here was tore open, just from rough handling. So I contacted Amazon. Hey, this is damaged. Send me another one. So I sent that back. The next one came. The plastic was intact, but yeah, the card backing was all tore up. There was like a rip out of here, like they had a sticker. They tore it off. So I ended up getting this one at Target off the shelf. So, Amazon.
The guy who played Torch on Slither, he got into his character the most. He was great to watch on stage, and even busted out the keytar.
Very nice.
Is there any actual flames involved?
No flames, but Buzzer, who was the drummer, he actually had a chainsaw, and he took a moment to showcase his chainsaw. It was pretty cool.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you very much for those updates, Kevin. I appreciate that.
You bet.
And
Bah.
Jared's just jealous. I go hard.
Yeah.
On him.
No, I'm
He
yeah.
just-
The
he
jealousy
just
here
goes-
is
he just goes
ridiculous.
mid.
Yeah.
Anyways, unless anyone has any other thoughts on the comic or on San Diego Comic Con, let me mute Jared again real quick.
Bah.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with the cartoon.
Jared, hang out after we're done, Jared, because I had a comment about your show I needed to tell you.
G.I. Joe will return after these messages.
Okay, does anyone need to get a drink? Ready to go on the next part? Ready to continue? And look at that, beautiful.
I am holding up the right issue, right? This is the one we're talking about.
No, it's supposed to be 67. No, yeah, you are correct.
I never know. I just make it up, man.
I know. I know, Jared. We all know. Okay, let's get back to the show.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
And see, I was going to play the cartoon. I think I mentioned the cartoon earlier. But yeah, we've done the cartoon. We're moving on to the comic book this time. Ooh, very nice, Jared. So look at the actual notes. Yeah, so we're looking at issue 66 of the comic book. Again, this is G.I. Joe, Royal American Hero 66. Oh, let me go ahead and get the slideshow back up. So we did Soldier of the Month. There we are. The cover date on this was December of 1987. The on sale date, September the 8th, 1987. The cover price was $1. The title of this was called The 10th Letter. The writer was Larry Hama, as normal. Penciler, Ron Wagner. Inker, Randy Emberlin. Letterer, Joseph Rosen. The colorist, Bob Sharan. And editor was Bob Harris. And the cover credits was Mike Zeck and Bob McLeod.
Well, it's a Zeck. No baby, but Zeck. So it's great.
I don't even need to be here. Jared himself. I'm sorry.
I don't even need to be here.
I'm slowly working on phasing you out, Jared. I'm sorry. No. So yeah, no, Jared wants to give us a live presentation of that. I just love the little slide I put together.
I don't want to disappoint you. So this is Zeck and McLeod, right? So that's Zeck,
Yes.
Zeck, no baby, but Zeck, McLeod, Zeck, McLeod. There you go.
Very nice.
So good.
Yes, I love that. The synopsis for this issue. I got this from from GIJoe.fandom.com. Billy, Storm Shadow, and Jinx join Snake Eyes, Scarlet, and the Blind Master in Barovia to rescue Stalker, Snowjob, and Quick Kick. So let's talk about the cover first. As I've got up on the screen, we have Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow's swords pulled out, looking in a window. We got barbed wire in front of them. In the window, we see, I think her name was Holga, holding a gun on Stalker, Quick Kick, and Snowjob. So let's get some thoughts on the cover. Let me pull this. Let me do this. David, do you have thoughts on this cover?
Yes, I like this one. It's very nice. There's just one thing that I am less happy about the covers, that it's a great image, but the situation that you see is not exactly how it happens in the issue, because it's not at the same time. But
right.
Aside from that, the visual is great.
Fantastic. And Jared,
sir,
with your big book of comics there.
Yes, sir. This is in volume 2 of the new 4-volume compendium.
Oh, very nice.
The cover is one of my very favorites. This is in Jared's top tier covers. I love the trio of Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, and Stalker. That will come up when we discuss story as well. I think artistically it's fantastic. I love the lighting, so kudos to the colorist. You don't get to shout out the colorist a lot, but that yellow highlight on the characters coming from the windows And how about that barbed wire in the foreground effect? I mean, it's Zek, and McLeod is another longtime collaborator with him. It is great characters. It is great depth with that barbed wire. I'm not sure we're scoring them yet, but putting you down for 100 Yojo Colas.
And Mr. Reitzel, the Raider nerd guy.
Good cover. I like the design of it. It does peak. It's not exactly what happens in the comic, but it gives you a really good idea of what you're going to see. We know that we've had Joes that have been stuck in what is it, Barovia? I think it is.
Yep.
Remembering?
Yep.
And this is of course during the Cold War and such. And when you get ninjas on the cover, you get an extra bump for me as well. It's a little dark. I do like the barbed wire look to it, but I wish the barbed wire was maybe a little bit lighter. Maybe it would have taken away from something, but I would have also liked to have seen the actual G.I. Joe logo a little bit brighter, maybe a different color, whether it was a yellow or a green or something to kind of pop a little bit more. But the overall design is fantastic. The artwork itself is fantastic, and it does stand out. I had forgotten actually how good this cover was.
And for myself, I'm just when I do this episode, I'm just gonna take Jared's thoughts and place it here. Because Jared had all my thought. I love the barbed wire. I love the lighting. The lighting from inside, lighting up Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. You get that barbed wire. The barbed wire probably would have been. I can see where Kevin's coming from, but I like it being a little bit darker because again, it's outside. We get a little bit of the highlights along the top from the light lighting it up. Just a fantastic image. Yeah, this is one when I think of G.I. Joe, especially this era. This is a cover I fondly remember.
It's very cinematic, Aaron. If you look at the barbed wire, there's no. It's vague. There's no definition to it, as if it was being filmed with a camera and it's slightly out of focus. That's the kind of detail I really dig.
See, and that's why I'm keeping you on even though I can duplicate a lot of what you do, that's why I keep you on the show, man. That's great observation. Yeah, there was something I couldn't play.
I mean, anybody could just not read the book, but not everybody could bring in that kind of depth.
No, yes. Yeah, a lot of people don't read the book, but yeah, you bring some extra, artistic knowledge. And that now that you mention that, I think that's one thing that really draws the eye to it is it's slightly out of focus. Like, it is in the foreground and our camera's trying to focus on the characters behind it. I think it's just a fantastic job. Kevin, you had a thought?
Yeah, I had a question. I wanted to know where you find the information on who the artist and stuff is. The reason I'm asking is I'm on yojo.com comics where I can, get a little background and stuff like that. And regarding the cover artist, Zek is not mentioned. It's Rob Wagner and Bob McLeod.
Huh.
So
I get my information from Mike's Amazing World of Comics for the most part.
Does it say it in the comic? Because I know Zek doesn't always get any mention in the comic itself. That's why I was wondering. Because it says pencils Ron Wagner on the comic, and then that's it. It doesn't say cover stuff. So I don't know. Jared, do you have any insight on that?
I am looking at some sources right now. So
I get it from Mike's Amazing World.
I'm just wondering if the sources here are incorrect on Yojo or if Zek is getting the shaft again,
Yeah, I will continue to dig. Y'all talk amongst yourselves.
Because if Ron Wagner did do it, I just want to make sure that he does get credit for it. If it's
right,
not
definitely.
covered all. So I was just kind of curious about that. So, and by the way, speaking of the cover, I don't know. I know yours doesn't show it, Jared, but the actual comic has in the corner the fall of the mutants is coming instead of like
very nice
barcode or anything like that. See that right there?
So it's probably a direct edition.
Yeah. So, and then of course there is a big right here, Fall of the Mutants ad in the comic itself, which is ironically happens right after they turn out the lights in the prison and start doing some whoop ass on the guards. The next page, you got Fall of the Mutants right next to it. So yeah.
And I love seeing these ads because it kind of places us. It lets us know when this was happening in actual real time. So fantastic.
I got good news, bad news on this one.
What you got, Jared?
What you got?
The bad news is Kevin is correct. And I never like saying that, but it is a Ron Wagner. So the real bad news is the whole awesome Zek, no Beatty, McLeod. Yeah, it's a Ron.
Well, okay. Here's the challenge to you, Jared. It's Ron Wagner and McLeod. You need to do a song in contrition with these two artists right now, showcasing Wagner,
but like in a different,
McLeod.
like not a techno beat, but like
exactly.
Wagner and McLeod, sing it out loud because it's Wagner and McLeod. There you go.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know where Mike got his information from. Then
I usually really hang my hat on Mike's Amazing World as well. I actually fuddled around and couldn't quite get it to pull up on Mike's Amazing World. I actually just did a straight up Google search, and Google pointed me. It's AI says Ron Wagner, and then it pointed me to the official Marvel database, which said Ron Wagner.
Huh.
There you go.
And I know they've been wrong before, so Mike
Yeah.
has had misinformation on there before. So
Yeah.
well, very interesting.
In fact,
Thanks.
the weird part is too, I might have to sing a whole other song, but the weird part is too, on official Marvel database, it says cover art Ron Wagner. So it still could have been inked by McLeod. You know how inkers often get left off, but
Well, that begs the question
could be
too,
all
because
him.
the last issue that we covered was the cover that had the space shuttle. It was a space fight, basically. It was called Shuttle Complex.
Mhm.
And we were not too
Not
crazy about that cover. And that was a Mike Zeck and Bob McLeod, according to
it was
JoJo.com.
It is.
And so you always say if it's a Zeck cover, it automatically gets a 4 out of 5. Do you still agree with that issue?
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I mean, it wasn't here, but yeah, I still give that a 4. It's because
Okay.
it's Mike Zeck, and there's actually a lot I like about it, but I was on that episode, but it's got a lot of neat levels and layers to it, but I don't want to bog you guys down, but
Okay.
I'd still
All right.
give it a 4.
I just had to
but
get your opinion on it.
I'm staying loyal to it. I'm looking at it right now because I just scrolled back one page on the official Marvel database. Just to
For you,
see. Here I got
Zeller
Zeck and McLeod.
Yeah, I'd asked Jared about them. Like, you weren't on the show, but we were talking about this cover, and it's a Zek cover. So I know you started as 4, and he goes, "Yeah, no, it's definitely a 4."
I'm sticking to it. I'm just surprised at the amazingly high score I'm about to give us a cover I thought was a Zek, but is not. But man, Ron really killed this one.
Speaking of which, let's get some numbers out of this. 1 to 5 Yojo Colas, 1 being 3 being it's an average cover, and 5 being like that one right over Kevin's shoulder there that you'd want to hang on the wall. Beautiful. Jared, let's start with you. 1 to 5 Yojo Colas. How many do you give this, knowing it's now not a Zek cover?
it was a super easy 5 when I thought it was a Zek, and now I'm that's a great piece of art Kevin has, and now I'm giving this all the 5s. I mean, I'm giving him my 5. I'm giving him Kevin's, David's, yours. I just stole your 5s, and I'm giving it. I love this cover. It's fantastic.
Very nice. Kevin, 1 to 5 Yojo Colas.
I was already going to give it a 4. 4 is a good score for me. It's even though it's not a Zek, let's give it to Wagner here. Wagner gets a good solid 4 out of 5 for me.
You probably give it a 5, but Jared stole yours.
I took it, so he didn't have a choice. Yeah.
David, 1 to 5 Yojo Colas.
You're on mute.
You're still muted.
Sorry, guys.
There you go. No problem.
Was just saying, since I've got my 5 stolen, I have to go with 4.5. But that was the real rating that I had, because I don't know what you can say that is not good about this cover.
Yeah.
It's really awesome, except the fact that it's not exactly what happened. So when you get into the issue, you're just looking, oh, is that where this happens? Wait, it doesn't happen. I mean, not like that. So 4.5 just because of that. But visually, it's
very fair.
It's really awesome.
Yeah, and I like when the cover actually depict what happens also. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, Jared, look at that. Is that Elvis over there? And while his back's turned, I'm going to sneak in and steal my 5 back so I can give it to him. So, yeah, while yes, I'd prefer it be something that's actually in the issue. I think this is a close enough representation. And like you guys have said, it's a fantastic drawing. It's the lighting, everything's just fantastic on it. So yeah, I definitely will give it a 5. So let's go ahead and get some thoughts on this issue. Let's go ahead and start with Kevin this time. Kevin, spotlight's on you, buddy.
First of all, I love how we are getting the training of Billy with Storm Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also getting basically the I don't know if you want to call it the mythology, the spirituality, forgetting that word here.
Spiritualness.
Thank you, spiritualness of becoming a ninja, and learning, I guess you call it the 10 signs, the 9th signs, and how you're showcasing in the art on how to do it with your hands. And I love that comes back around. And this is one of the things that really made me fall in love more with just ninjas in general is, of course, the G.I. Joe comics and how they just weren't a novelty thing. A lot of people were like, no, Snake Eye should have been in State of Commando because that was his original action figure. Well, I go against that. I like the fact that we're getting a culture here. We're getting a history here, and we have with the comics. And, it's funny, too, because we just recently did a podcast on our network, on the Phantom Podcast Network, celebrating canon films. And the first 2 that we covered, we did a double feature, was American Ninja 1 and 2, The Confrontation, number 2. And I was thinking back to, and we had a discussion about ninjas and the impact that it had on us. And, obviously a lot of the ninja films, we got a little bit of cultural, side stories about them, or, the spiritual side. And that's one of the things that stood out me with this episode, or excuse me, with this issue. And then it ties into helping out their fellow comrades, rescue the Joes that are, at the gulag and basically prisoners. That's the main thing I want to touch on at the top, and I'll let you guys take the rest.
Very nice. And let's go and pull that out. Let's go ahead and go with David. Thoughts?
I didn't like that one that much. At first, I was excited about reading this for the first time because I knew it was about the situation with circus. And since I did work in circus, I was thinking, hey, for the first time, I will have something interesting to say. But not that much about circus. It touches on it a bit. For me, it's kind of the slow ones. Not that I did not like it. I liked, Kevin, all the whole training from Storm Shadow, all the mythology behind all that. And I also prefer the ending for compared to all the rest, because I like the part when they escape and when the Barovian are just trying to shoot them, and at the end, nobody, you get shot.
Yes. Okay. And I think that's everybody. I'll give my thoughts now. Oh, well, Jared has gone. Jared, yeah.
Do the hand thing.
Oh,
there you go. There you go. That's it. He's got ninja hands.
I got ninja hands. When we were kids, did we not all try these? Because I know I did. I know I tried all these.
I was making fart noises with my palms. So
well, that's the next logical step.
I was 17 when this came out, so yeah, I was trying it also. I wasn't a kid, but anyway, Jared.
My first question is a technical one, and I guess Kevin would be the best one to ask because he's got the physical issue there. Or is it the reprints or is the original issue? There's a lot of wonkiness going on with the lettering, especially on this page. Jinx is talking.
Yeah, let me pull that one up here. I was curious about
it's
that.
like there's like a lot of misspelled words, where you can kind of tell they were. I don't know, it was a printing error.
Yeah, there's a printing error where I have been. It looks like they're saying pouring over all.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah, there's a printing error, like
and like instead of intelligence, it says intelligence in that same bubble, right underneath the pouring. Like instead of a G, it's an O. Intelligence.
Yep, that is a misspelling. You are correct.
Okay, so these are
this is the original issue right there.
Right. So these reprints went from the OGs.
Let me bring you up, Kevin.
Yep, right there. See
how it says well, he's got his looks much more like a G than mine does.
Yeah, no, it looks like a G to me. That's the way
Yeah,
mine
well,
is.
yeah, mine looks like straight up looks like an O.
That's mine as well.
there you go. Yeah,
That's weird because mine looks straight up like an O in this
yeah,
reprint.
that's the way mine looks. It looks like a G. It's just
That's weird. Anyways, aside from that, story wise, guys, this is one of my favorite books as I gleefully rediscovered by doing the show. Like if you told me I would do 66, I was like, oh, okay, and I got out my book and I was like, oh, this looks cool. And this is one of those books that I had read and loved as a kid, but the memory reawakened as I was reading it for this. So this was an amazing experience for me. I'm not gonna lie. Like I forgot how good this was because I was able to put myself into the context. I think that's a hugely important part of really enjoying this book. Is being a kid in 87. We've just gone through literal months of Stalker and Quick Kick, and Snow Job ended up getting away in special missions. I think
No, it was Outback.
Outback. My bad. Yeah, it was Outback. Yeah, but these guys being kidnapped and prisoners of war, and like Larry let that cook for months, right? And I
61 until 66.
Yeah, I like this book. I felt that sense that I felt when I was a kid again, of thank goodness this is over. They got him, and I'm not gonna lie, guys. Like I'm really glad that I'm on drawing cam because I straight up got a tad emotional. I tweeted about it yesterday on X. I straight up got a little emotional at these two panels. For the listeners, it's when they bust in, the Joes, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, they bust in, and two panels. Stalker comes running up, says, "Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, I knew you'd come for me."
Yep.
It hits me in the heart every time
because
those guys, those are the Vietnam guys.
Yep.
And when I saw that, I got emotional, man. I was like, this damn book is so good. I was just like, man, it touched me. It really did. And yeah, I quickly realized as of about yesterday when I reread this, 66 is one of my all-time favorites. And just to keep this from being too serious and dramatic, I also realized that I spent an entire Air Force career in a classified position, and I never once said to anyone, "It's a state secret, you little deformed freak." I really missed an opportunity there, but
you did. I was going to say you missed an opportunity, Jared.
I did. But no, man, this book, I'm just so thankful I was on this episode because it's just one of those magical things that you loved as a kid, forgot about, came back to 35 years or whatever it is later, and I just felt so good to read it again.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, I agree 100% with you. Bring it back. There we are. So and basically, my thoughts. It mirrors a lot of Jared's. Yeah, this is again. I love this issue. It's when I remember again. The ending to the whole Barovia storyline, which is we just talked about, went on for the last 6 months of the comic, and we're not really dealing with any Joe issue in this book. This is all Barovia and the rescue of our captured Joes. And I like how in previous issues that Joe's like, we have to wash our hands of them. It's not we can't do anything about it. But Snake Eyes and Scarlet said, I don't think so. Storm Shadow showed up with Jinx, and they're like, we're here. And Billy, don't forget Billy. We're here to help you. And I love I think it was Kevin was trying to say the mythology and the world building of the ninjas with the whole, the hand gestures and all that. I love that. It was fantastic, which we'll get more into here in a little bit. But yeah, it's just a fantastic issue. And well, there's more to come because I know, if I'm not mistaken, the clown shows up later on, if my memory serves, and I'm sure there's gonna be fallout from our Joes being captured and we're coming back, and the reuniting with Outback, who they sent away when they got captured. He was able to get out, and they had the whole special missions, him getting away. And again, as we talked about, the Joes giving him crap for leaving his friends behind. That's all going to come up. So while it's the ending of them being captured, it's not quite the ending of the storyline. So, and I can't wait because again, and I don't know if it's part of it's just because, like I say, I just started collecting this book like a year before this, or if it's really that great. But I'm going to go off what Jared said. That was really great. So
Agreeing with me is a dangerous spot to be, but man,
it is. I was going to say I kind of hate agreeing with Jared. That's a really dangerous spot to be in. But you know what? It is what it is. So, just 1 second. Yeah, agreeing with Jared is never a good thing. And I was going to
underline.
Wrong one. This one I wanted.
That's a prescription for danger. That's a prescription for danger.
He told you, agree with Jared, just things fall apart. And... but no, great issue. Yeah, great art in it. Yeah, one thing I was going to comment on, I do like when Jinx is showing Storm Shadow the newspaper clipping of the circus show. We'll use his magnifier glass and take a look at that acrobat. And he's like, I can recognize her walk. That's Scarlet. I love that he recognizes her walk just from a small image in a newspaper clipping. I mean, it's not like a video. It's just one, quick little step of her move, not even moving. Just, I can tell by that walk. That's Scarlet. Damn, you're good.
He is really, really paid attention to her walk.
Translation. Da ass.
There you go. See, Kevin said what I was thinking.
Exactly. That's why I'm here.
If I have you, I have to have Kevin because Kevin's the Jared translator for us. But I love the general whatever he is, talking to the clown and I remember I'll bring back the bareback rider. And I just love the look on the clown's face when they're talking about Magda and how she disappeared into one of the gulags. And how they're making the round trips of Barovia, especially around the outlying districts where the gulags are located. I just love and how the what is he, a dwarf, a midget? I'm not sure the appropriate term at this point in my life. I know little deformed freak is not an appropriate term, but I like how he jumps in the middle. He's like, you should stop using that, Jared. Well, I like how he jumps up and he's like, won't you just tell him what happened to Magda so he can ease his pain? And he's sitting there, you can tell that they're friends, but he's just jumping up and defending his friend, the clown, and trying to get some sort of answer out of this jerk. And is it not sorrow that makes the great clown? Who might deprive the world of laughter? So yeah, I didn't how what I do. There it is. And how, when Scarlet's trying to find out what's going on, the dwarf is like, leave me alone. If you do anything to hurt the clown, it's not going to be the end of it. And then the other thought I had on this was the very ending. Well, actually, before that, the dwarf, midget, whatever he is, the deformed freak, was telling him, telling the clown that, we turn these guys are up to something. We turn them in. Maybe we can use that as leverage. And when he says that, the clown's like, I would do anything to find my Magda again. And then we cut to the end where we find out he's actually helping them. And his little companion's like, where's it at? Like the last page of this, where he's like, we could have turned them in, made a deal, and now they'll hunt us down. We've lost everything. And I love the way this is written. He's like, we will escape. Have faith in our resourcefulness. To have turned them in would have violated everything Magda believed in. We have lost nothing. In fact, we have gained everything worth having. I just love that ending dialogue there. It's just fantastic. It's just very, because again, no matter what happens to you in life, it's what you choose to do is what defines you. And, he could have turned them in and maybe got some information on Magda, but no, that's not what she would have wanted. She would have wanted me to help them. So that's what I'm doing. It's very, going back to, what Jared said, like that one page of Stalker reuniting kind of, gets to Jared. That gets me too, but this one here also just touches me appropriately this time, oddly enough, that I just love the way that's written. The whole, I can't do something that Magda would disapprove of.
Yeah, when some writers get preachy and it's obvious, but Larry has a good way with it. Like, yes, it's preachy in a good way.
And as we've always said, Larry does a great job of handling all these characters that he's got thrown in here and creating it. We never got a clown figure or any of that. This was for Larry's run. But yeah, he does, in quotes, preach morality to us, but in an entertaining way, I guess.
Yeah, he's always been pretty good at that.
And what David said earlier about, when the I forget the guy that was going to shoot Stock or they were having a face off. Oh, must be my lucky day. the Zek Wilson dares to engage me in a rifle duel. And we see how that turned out. And I like just Stalker shoots him, he just throws his gun over the side. Like, I'm done.
Now you're gonna let me run my mouth for a second. I love the comic craft of that because on one hand I love it, and the other hand I don't love it because we're gonna talk about favorite pages. And I almost picked this one, the showdown moment, but they did the craft so well because they have them square off, they pull the trigger, and you have to turn the page to see what happens next. I love it when comics do that. It always bugs me when they don't. Like if this was continued on, like your brain will already know what's going to happen. But this way you have to take that beat to turn, and then you get the guy getting laid out and the tossing of the rifle. Perfect comic craft.
And I can see if this was like a TV show, that would be a perfect place for a commercial break.
Absolutely. That is your commercial break.
You go get your popcorn, your drink, whatever, come back to find out, okay, what happened? Who got killed? Who, did they hit each other? Did they live? What happened here? I agree.
I'm glad, Jared, you brought that point up because that was a great thing. You're like, oh crap, who won that? Because there's always famous sniper offs as I like them, and who's going to get who first, and that was a great way you had to turn the page. It was awesome.
Yes, fantastic. Let me see real quick. Any other thoughts on the issue before we move on to the next segment? Gavin, David, any other thoughts?
I just want to say that I like that I'm sorry, you say David, I apologize.
No problem.
Sorry.
No, I didn't have any more comments about the issue.
All right, Kevin.
Thinking about what Jared said about how this is kind of an emotional moment on some of these scenes here, and that during this time we were learning about like a lot of internment camps and also Vietnam veterans that didn't make it home, and they were in camp still, and I like how this kind of did take a more of a serious turn and tone with this. Mm-hmm. And and this Olga, who's in charge of this camp here, was ruthless. Yeah, I mean, she seemed to enjoy her job a little too much on this, and I thought that was a nice thing to kind of add in there as well. But I also felt that we really, really missed out on a full cover page of the bareback rider.
I was going to ask you if Olga qualified as hot or if she was too evil for it.
There's some moments with Olga. I'm just saying.
Wouldn't say no. Oh, sorry. What's that?
Yeah. Bringing it back to some seriousness, I did wonder if she was patterned after a character in the Carlos Hathcock's story. He's the very famous Marine sniper. In fact, the sniper movies are based with Tom Berenger are based off of his life loosely. But yeah, he talks about in his book, he's killed bazillions of people. And he talks about how he only took pleasure in one. And it was a female who ran a prisoner of war camp and took such delight in torturing the men that when he killed her, he said that was the one I felt legitimately good about.
I'm glad you brought that up, Jared, because I have a documentary about Carlos and how he talked about how he squared off against a sniper that was sent after him, and how he also had a bounty on his head, from what I remember correctly as well. And I'm glad you brought that up because that guy was he was very good at what he did.
Very, very good at what he did.
Very, very good. It's a fascinating documentary, and he's a fascinating man.
The additional reason I brought it up is not only because she made me feel echoes of what you talked about, but then you have the sniper off basically at the end too. I thought, I wonder if Larry just got done reading Carlos Hathcock's book when he.
To answer your question, is she hot or not? Well, what do you guys think?
I'm gonna go with yes, but she's still evil. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say yes, but I'm gonna feel bad about saying yes. How's that?
Yeah, that's the answer. That's the right.
There you go.
I mean, yes, I would spend the night with her, but I'd feel really bad about myself the next day. But seeing how that's
especially
normal,
when she had you killed.
Well, yeah. Well, some days maybe I welcome it. I don't know.
If it's gonna end, why not?
And on that note, unless anyone's had their thoughts on that, let's go and move on before I get myself in trouble. I mean, so next up is let me find my sound bites.
The real American hero.
So this is a Joe or Cobra that did something, or even somebody else that did something that deserves special extra recognition or attention. Let's go and start with Kevin. Kevin, do you have a real American hero for this issue?
I want to give it straight up to Storm Shadow, continuing Billy's training, but also kind of gathering and reuniting everyone that has serious ninja and fighting skills to help their comrades and bringing Scarlet in on the action and showing the full respect for everyone and them showing respect to him. This is a really good issue showcasing Storm Shadow, and I got one of the best G.I. Joe characters, and so he gets my vote.
Very nice. And Jared, do you have a real American hero for this?
100%.
It's not Spirit, but
no, it's not. It's for sale, but we'll talk about that later. No, man, we're gonna go Stalker all the way on this. Stalker, because he's kept this team going this entire months long process that we've gone through.
Right.
He's done it as a true soldier professional that he is. I love, as I mentioned, the 2 panels. I love that we get to see like another reason it hits me in just 2 panels on such an emotional level, unbridled joy on his face. He hasn't been allowed to be happy in a long time. Just as the leader of the group, I gravitate towards those characters. Like Leonardo is my favorite Ninja Turtle. Cyclops is my favorite X-Man. I like the peer group leader a lot because they do what everybody else does, but they take on that next level of responsibility that is hard. And he's had it the hardest. And to see that joy on his face really made me happy. To know that he kept it all together all this time made me happy. And then he gets to cap off the story with that badass rifle, square off with the other guy and just end it, and Stalker all day long.
Very nice. Can't argue with that. David, do you have a real American hero for this issue?
Yeah, I'm going with Storm Shadow as well, because during all the issue he shows that he can be the ultimate leader for a team. And as Kevin said, because he's all gathering the people and making sure that they work together, but he shows that he's not just a ninja. He's a teacher. He's a leader in the field. So I really like this character in the issue.
Yeah, and a loyal friend.
Yes.
Again, going back to his connection with Stalker, the loyalty there is so much. This book touches my heart.
And yeah, those are all great choices. Yeah, I went through Stalker. I went through Storm Shadow for reasons you guys have said already. Fantastic characters. My only problem with Storm Shadow is that he never really was a Cobra bad guy like he was in the cartoon. I mean, as we found out previously, he was only working with Cobra to find out answers, and he's more neutral / Joe-sided, but that's another story entirely. But yeah, those are both great choices. But I'm going to go for, as I talked about a little bit ago, the White Clown. I love the fact that he
Why are you always picking on me? Oh no, I'm sorry. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you, Jared. Besides, it was my favorite. You should have been felt, privileged, But yeah, no, I love. Yeah, the White Clown could have turned him in and maybe got some answers about Magda or got some special favor treatment or something. But he's willing to go on the run if he needs to help out the Joes, because that's what Magda would have wanted. And again, like you said, he didn't lose anything, but they've gained everything. So I'm giving mine up to the White Clown just because he was so fantastic. And again, as I said, if I recall correctly, we do see him again later on in the book. So spoilers for upcoming issues. But
I'm intrigued because this is about where I started dying off in the books, because we moved to Germany and they're harder to get. Anyway, I'm intrigued.
Right. So yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this whole White Russian White Clown and all this. This comes back up later on in the book to some degree. So we'll go and put a pin on that though. So let's go ahead and move on to the last segment, which is normally the middle segment, the page of art. Let me get back to again. I pull this out so I can talk to us. Then I forget these things. We did the cover, the Real American Hero, favorite page of art. There we are. So this is a page of art. I've asked the guys to send me their favorite page that they would want. This is something you'd want to have either black and white or the colored page. Something you want to take home and hang on your wall, maybe. So let's go and look who I got in my list here. David, you chose page 15. Like, talk about this.
Yes, the reason that I like this page is you have a kind of a real American hero, badass movie vibe with that page, because you have all the bad guys who are feasted on Boris, so they are a bit late, sadly. But it just says, so you are looking for sports, and we're going to give it to you. So you have like the team that is there to rescue their friends, but they just show. I mean, the bad guys don't know how awesome this team is so far, and you just, as a fan, you know that they are going to take a beating, and a solid one. And when Scarlet just takes out the light, I mean, it's like you're watching a movie, an action movie. It's very cinematic. And I love that page for that.
Very nice. But yeah, there's a lot of great pages in this one. Next up, Jared, you chose page 11. Is that correct?
Sure. I don't know what the page number is, but I want to give David a shout out. Yeah, I almost picked the same page as him for similar reasons. But this one, man, I really liked it. I also like to pick pages that if you get the original art, you usually don't get the lettering.
Right.
So I like pages that tell a story even without the words, right? And David's page also did that really well. So I was flipping around looking at it, I really like the Stalker page with the standoff, but then you had to turn the page to see how it ends. So I would have to take 2 pages. So many good pages in this one. But this one I liked. I loved the team shot in action at the bottom.
Yes.
And I was like, so I was leaning towards that. And then what sold me on is actually panel 2, where Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow appear from the fog, from the smoke.
Yes.
Like that. I was like, okay, this is it. This is when 2 ninjas appear from the smoke, do business, and then the whole crew goes rolling in. I can't say no. So that's Jared sticking with this one. But man, there's a lot to pick from in this book. You would have thought I would have picked the one that hit me emotionally, but this one hit my 80s ninja love that Kevin was talking about from like Canon films from before.
Like you said, there's a lot of great issues. This was hard to choose from. There's a lot of great pages to choose from. You both have great pages for the reasons you stated. I had 2 that came down to. I chose one, and then Kevin sent me his, which actually are overlap. So mine is page 7. I love the way that they're, especially that last panel where the group is standing around each other. We got the Rashikaga symbol in the ground as they're talking, and they're starting to do their hand movements and all that. We get the clown.
Do you mind if I read those bubbles of the dialogue? Because the reason why, and I'm glad you chose this one as well, Aaron, because of what they say in that.
Yes.
What Storm Shadow says leads to mine. Storm Shadow says, there are 3 here who wear the hexagram of our ninja clan on their right arms. They are the unbroken lines. There are 3 here who do not wear the hexagram. They are the broken lines. We 6 together complete the circle. All forces are in balance and harmony. On this clean slate, we will write the letters of the Kujoni. So I thought that was a great setup in uniting these people. So great choice. I'm glad you chose that one.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I was looking at both pages, but I chose this one for real, which is just a great layout. And just, it starts this next page, which I originally considered before I went with this one. So Kevin, page 8.
Yeah. So, what I want to do is lay this out also for the listeners who are not watching this. So the previous one, which was yours, that was in the middle of the circus ground while they're being spied on by that little guy. But this is what I like to call like the Brady Bunch layout here, and it shows shows Storm Shadow, and he's holding his hand signal of the signs. It's the foy, I think it's foy was what it's called, and then then it goes to Scarlet, Toe, then it goes to Snake Eyes, Show, then it goes to Blind Master, Kai, and then it goes to Jinx, Jin, right? Is that Jinx?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Then it goes to Billy, Retsu, and then it goes back to Storm Shadow, Zen, and then Zai is last with Scarlet, and then he goes on to say, or Blind Master then says, "Now it is the time you invoke the 10th letter. Will you name that letter Storm Shadow?" And then Storm Shadow replies, "It has no name, Blind Master. It is the void, the nothingness that is the controlling element of the Zen swordsmanship. It is the clearing of the mind and the soul that must be undertaken before battle. We are now ready to storm the gulag and release our friends." I'm like, hell yeah!
Son.
It's not as good as the president's speech in Independence Day, but this is a damn good rally cry. I'll just tell you right now. So,
and on the preceding page, we start with Rin. I think you pronounce it R-I-N.
Yeah.
Down at the bottom, it's just a little bubble down that says Rin. And then we get into the other 8.
Yeah.
So
another great piece of comic craft, by the way, how they're all done in headshot like that. And he's actually paying attention to height of who's taller than who. And
the different color of the backgrounds behind to showcase the people in the panels too.
So cool. One person in that circle will eventually get the Arashikage tattoo on his arm that does not have it yet.
Yep.
Fun little trivia fact.
No, yeah, they were all like we've all said. There was a lot of great choices in this book. It was hard to choose because there was that one that Jared mentioned earlier about Stalker and his whole sentimental. It's my friends are here to rescue us. There's the sniper shoot off between the two, but that leads into the last page or the next page. But that's 2 pages, so that kind of ruins that as a pit. So just a lot of great images in this book. It's one of the reasons why it's one of my favorites. Because there's just fantastic drawings in this. So I think that's going to do it. That's the Real American Hero. That's the page of art. So let me see what I have next on my list. So hold tight real quick. Let's go ahead and play the PSA.
Nice bike. Maybe we could borrow it? No, that's stealing. I'll ask for permission later.
Uh-oh. Looks like you're asking for trouble now.
Shipwreck!
How would you like it if someone took your bike?
I wouldn't.
And if you get caught?
I'd definitely end up in trouble.
Remember, taking something that isn't yours just isn't right.
Now I know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
So you got the PSA Shipwreck there, and I'm just going to borrow his bike. It's called stealing, you little thief. And I like how listen to their conversation.
I didn't learn from that episode. I'm just saying.
I have borrowed bikes before in my youth as well.
Why does that not surprise me? I mean, anyway. Anything you care to confess, David? Oh. So no, I want to thank those that are watching live. Thanks those listening to the podcast. I want to thank my special guests, David, Jared, and Kevin. Well, not really special guests, but my co-hosts, David, Jared, and Kevin. And a big thanks to Flint Dille for showing up and taking time out of his life to G.I. Joe with us. I loved, like I said, I was talking to him here a while back when we were doing the Game Master episode. I wanted to get him on, talk about that, and for his the book, The Game Master, named after that episode. And things just didn't work out. So I'm glad I was able to get him on. This is his last episode for this season. He's got a couple episodes next season, which we'll talk about next time or next season, whatever, in the future. That's what we're looking for. So unless anyone has any other thoughts, David, any other thoughts on the cartoon, comic, Jared being a bike thief?
Yeah. No, not really. I would have liked to ask a couple more questions about other episodes to Flint, but maybe the next time he comes in.
Yeah, we'll get him on again in the future. Yeah, well, I definitely have you on. Most definitely. I know you had a couple more questions. Yeah, Flint had to go, so unfortunately we had to cut it there. Kevin, thoughts on the episode, cartoon, Jared's.
No, I just I had a great time as always, and I appreciate you guys. So thank you.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you for the Comic-Con updates. I appreciate that.
Bah.
Appreciate the cold slither. I appreciate annoying Jared. Speaking of which, Jared, any other confessions you want to make on the show today?
I mean, no, this was a great episode. Flint is Dille, right? That's how he says.
Yeah.
He was what a positive guy. What positive energy. Just a great guest to have on. So he was fantastic. What a great book. I can't accurately describe how nice it was coming back to 66. Thanks to this show, I now realize that 66 to me is what was that 48 for you, Kevin? Is that right? Or 43? One over your shoulder. What is that?
43. Yeah.
43. Like
It's
66 is now my 43. Like,
yeah.
Oh wow.
And
that's a bold statement, Cotton.
Yeah. Let's see if it pays off for me, right? I don't know, but like I liked it that much.
Wow.
And so yeah, this has just been a heartwarming episode. Even though you tried to destroy it, Aaron, it still was heartwarming.
So I just want to mention too, by the way, I love that you are doing the art again and showcasing it. And I just want to officially put my dibs in for that. I would like to purchase that from you.
Noted. Thank you.
Well, there you go. And
put that away now, and I have to talk about that later.
But yeah, no, I thank you guys very much for being on here. I appreciate you guys, take time out of your day, talk about this, 30, 40-year-old comic book and cartoon,
Love it, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Even though, like I said, we talk about the cartoons being, a lot of times being really silly, there were some more serious ones. And no matter what, I know a lot of us got our start. That's how I got my start on G.I. Joe, was because of the cartoon. So no matter how silly it gets, I love it. I guess we'll find out when we start the Deke series if much, because I still haven't watched those yet, but I'm waiting until we actually get there and watch them for the first time. So we'll see. From what I hear from people, I may regret covering those, but we'll see.
We'll enjoy talking about them, I'm certain.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So unless anyone has any other thoughts or comments or anything, I think let me get back to my slideshow, make sure I've got everything. I thanked everybody on the show. I did the PSA already. Yeah, so Yo Joe, we're at the end. So until next month, and we cover issue 67 and whatever the cartoon next month is.
There's no place like Springfield.
Part 1.
Oh yeah, we're at the end. No, not. Let me see real quick.
Yeah, it's the last 2 episodes of season 1.
Yeah, we're at the last of season 1. So we got 2 episodes there.
Jeez, I remember we started with the mini series. How long have we been doing this show?
How old am I?
Too long. However long, it's been too long.
I think I was in my 30s when I started this podcast.
Probably.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, but I thank you guys for hanging out with me all this time. I know we've had several guests on here. I've had to leave mainly because they're tired of me, but I honestly don't blame them. But I'm tired myself. But that's another story entirely. So until next month, remember, knowing is half the battle, and we'll do it one at a time. Yo Joe. David?
Yo Joe.
Kevin?
Yo Joe.
And that's it. And Jared.
Yo Joe.
And thank you guys for listening. Joe and JSP and Hines was there for a while. I know he's having some computer problems, it looks like. Thank you guys. And there was a few more that didn't chat that showed up in the indicator. So I thank you guys for joining us. Until next month. G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast, is available monthly on iTunes, Stitcher, and at headspeaks.com. All characters and stories are owned and trademarked by their respective owners. We claim no ownership other than our opinions. All audio and images are used for entertainment purposes and falls under fair use. We make no money from this headcast. For more of the monthly G.I. Joe, check out the IDW series. For the stories we're covering, look for the comics and trade paperbacks. Let us know what you think. Send us an email letting us know your thoughts. Joe's dismissed.